Just, I'm just gonna start. When she shows up, she'll show up. I hope. I hope she shows up. Cause goddamn. Today make sure both streams are working. I hope to make sure just both of them are working. Okay, wasting video. Okay, so I guess the default for the PC. We got okay, cool. Okay, that's up. Twitch is probably up too. Okay, those two are up. The thing is, I'm like checking in the most inefficient way possible. I could just go to the chat. Yeah. Hey Ziffin, hey Scarlett. I'm still waiting for Kaza because she hasn't showed. She's probably like getting ready or something. Which is no big deal. Okay, she's probably like getting ready or something, which is no big deal. I'll DM her again, see where she is. Hey Star, how are you doing? We're also streaming this on YouTube, which is great because it means I don't have to worry anymore about uploading this directly, which is nice. It's nice. Love how we've got 2 viewers on YouTube. Yes, we have viewers on YouTube. um, God damn it! It's 1:30 for me too, Jess. It's 1:30 for me too. We were looking at an hour, but if Kaz is late, then it will probably be a really short stream where we just outline one or two things. We just outline one or two things where we look at the submission from Ziff and I talk a little bit about Tapas. 2:30 there, holy shit. Not raid art specifically. We're gonna look at like what you want to submit for Tapas Incubator or Webtoon contest, and we're just gonna talk about what you've done. So far we've only gotten one submission. We have 3 people who have said no. Actually, it was 4 people who said they wanted to submit. One person actually submitted on time. That's Ziff. The others are either doing theirs again or like I got a message from a couple of them just going, "Oh, I'm redoing some stuff, so like I'll be late." I'm like, "Okay then." Yeah, yours is the main and only one today because everyone else is either late or hasn't like been on to like put it back. But I have gotten messages from most of them going, "Oh, I'm quite busy with this, so quite busy. I'll get it there." You want to submit? Just DM me on Discord on our Discord. I know, right? Punctuality, bro. Discord. One of the reasons I like to get it early is because it gives us time to like annotate it, like because I was technically doing all the legal stuff, checking legal backgrounds and stuff, seeing what things we needed to look out for the different competitions, what things were gonna change. Oh, let's judge different comment. Yeah, um, yeah, it's just your stuff, your submission, Ziff, your submission, lol. Just your submissions if that you were gonna make. Not just your art. Like so, it depends on what you're submitting for. So if you're submitting for the Webtoon contest, if you're submitting for a Webtoon contest, we're gonna need like, all right, maybe a script that you've written and some concept art, just so we know like what you're gonna do. I'm not asking you for like every chapter for the whole contest, just some concept art, and we'll talk about like story and how it can be expanded and stuff. If you're submitting for the Tapas one, Taps 1 is a lot more detailed. There's a lot more. There's a set of rules Taps has put down that makes it easy for us to talk about it. Now, if Kaz doesn't come, I'll either on my own just talk about Ziff's work, go through a little quick thing there. We'll talk about the Tapas Incubator contest, and I'll outline some points that are like the things about the rules and legality and things like that, which would be really useful for you to know. And stuff about the Webtoon contest if you don't already know, which would be very useful. And also, I'm Nen. I'm Nen. Yeah. We were supposed to be joined by one more person, but I don't think they're gonna make it. I think they're having the same issue Kaz is having. If Kaz like wakes, that's why like we usually have this overture where we start our stream anyway, so it's not really an issue. It's just saying it out loud, so you know. So we usually have this overture of about 30 minutes. But yeah, just DM Nen 0100, Nen hash 0100. Um, there's other people to DM, but right now I'm the only one who's on right now, and we'll read it in time. Uh, what else was there? We were gonna talk about the Webtoon contest and what you should be looking for from it. I was gonna talk about the about how the contest itself has like you shouldn't focus too much on the contest itself. Uh, and for the Tapas one, I was gonna talk about how for some people, not for everyone, but for quite a lot of people, it'll probably be better for you to hand over your work for Tapas than it would be for you to do it for Webtoon. Hey bunnies, that's there you are about some, about some contest. Yeah, I figured. Like, so if you heard what I said for the individual things, so for the Webtoon one, you know, just a rough script of what you want to do for the Webtoon contest, and some writing. It's not our contest; it's the Webtoon contest. If you don't know about it, it's on the website. But if you want a quick summary, it's a contest where they're going to give you money to draw comics for them, and they're doing it by having people submit art to Discover. It's like the longest interview ever. It's literally the longest interview ever. Yeah. Like it's very important to know what people want to see in a story. But as I said, if Kaza doesn't show, it will be really annoying because like the display art we have has Kaza on it. God damn it, Kaza! Don't do this to me. But it doesn't show, which is no big deal. She's got stuff going on, so she's probably like been like worked out, like out of her mind. She's been working all week, and she's still managing to make like a lot of stuff. Made a crap ton of notes. So like she's really helping out. If she makes it, then her and I will talk about it because she's got a lot of information and stuff that I don't know. On your work, Ziff, she actually did most of the work. She actually did most of the analyzing. Her and Sprinkles, which is one of our producers, she did most of the analyzing for your work, Ziff. I did most of the other stuff. I was like researching and background searching and stuff like that. Looking into the companies involved with the contest and Tapas stuff and shit. Yeah, if you want, Star. It'll be a last minute submission, but I'll figure out a way to display it on screen. Don't worry about that. Like, don't worry about that too much. Ooh, the overture is a beautiful time. You know the most annoying part is that I had to move the entire server to Singapore because it's the only place where I can like easily like whenever we call we use Discord. We use Discord like in server chat talk whenever we call. It's the easiest way to get like something done about it is by using what you call it, moving the server to a closer region for them than it is for me. Just add. Oh, what's that? Something's wrong there. Hmm. Okay, that's done, I guess. Yeah. Hey, welcome to everyone who's coming in. This is just the usual like beginning bit where we just don't really do much. Hope you guys are all right. XP is loading the USB. That's all right. By the time I go through everything anyway, it'll still take so long. that like you would still be able to get it to me in time because there's a lot of information for me to unpack and explain. Ooh, jeez, jeez, Rick. And welcome to everyone showing up. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What was he transferring to? Mac? Is it Mac you're transferring to? Um, if any of you are like wary about Tapas, I would say, from my perspective, don't be. It's something to concerned about a little bit if you're one of those people who really loves everything. Oh my god. If you're someone who really someone who really like values their OP and like doesn't really want to share it, I guess it's something to worry about. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Kaza replied. Yes, I'm not alone. Fuck. Fuck. Damn, Daniel. Back in it again with them white vans. Yeah. People always rag on Tapas and like, and I'm gonna say this today. Today, I'm gonna give what I'm gonna call not lukewarm. I'm gonna give a jalapeno spicy, no, a habanero spicy defense of Tapas. Like that's how hot it's gonna be. A habanero hot defense of Tapas because I cannot like. I'm not a big Tapas fan. That's the thing. I'm not really a big fan of theirs, but like I'm not gonna shit on them without good cause. If that makes sense, if that makes sense to any of you, like, I think that makes sense. Um, but yeah, we have confirmed Kaza. I'm gonna be devil's advocate for Tapas. Indeed, Scarlet. Indeed, indeedy, yes, indeedy. I'm gonna be because I'm not a big fan of them, but there's a level between like I don't like them and they're shady. Yeah, the IP rights are actually better because Webtoon lets you own all your stuff and Tapas doesn't. I don't want to like say it now because if I say it now, fuck it. I'm gonna repeat myself later anyway. Who gives a shit? Um, so the IP rights are better for Webtoon, but there's the reason Tapas's IP rights are fine and like not just fine are completely fine and frankly there is nothing wrong with it. Hey Cheesy, how you doing? We advertised one. I don't know if you saw the thing. Oh crap, did I tweet this out? I didn't tweet that out. But like, people will show if they want to show. Um Cheesy, welcome. But the way Tapas's like IP rights are, genuinely, I think Tapas is doing what I would call the responsible thing for a company of this size. So one thing people seem to forget a lot when they talk about the two major companies in webcomics right now is that they always go, "Oh, well, Tapas is doing this, but Webtoon's doing that," and I'm like, "Look, guys, look. Webtoon is a multi-million-dollar company. Lion is a multi-million-dollar company. Lion is a company that when Marvel wanted to make a superhero comic back then, when they went, but when they wanted them to have a superhero comic, they gave them 3 mil and just went, "Hey guys, find us someone who makes comics in superhero genre." And then like they also published like Star Wars on there. They published freaking Pacific Rim comics on there. So like it's a genuine. It's not something I'm gonna say like you should compare them as. You should compare them the way you normally would. Ah, there it is. I messed up my join command for the bot. Ah, finally recording. There's a bot we use for recording the casts for like higher quality. So like by the way, everyone who's watching this, if your internet's really bad or anything's going up with you and you can't really watch it right now, maybe you want to go to bed. Don't stress. This is going to be left up here as a VOD. Also, it's going to be on our YouTube channel, which I don't know why I haven't put this on Stream Alert, but I'm going to put this. I'm going to put this on you. I'm going to just get our link. Where is our link? Um, just gonna get our link and then I'll post it in the chat. But yeah, so don't stress if you can't watch it right now. Maybe you're sleepy as shit. Maybe you've just like been working all day. Maybe you just can't be fucked because like you want to go watch Cockneys versus Zombies, which is an actual movie that I found out about today. Can you believe that? Cockneys versus Zombies. What was the other name again? One of the people that helps us on the occasion when she can was talking about it. I was just like, you can't be serious. Those can't be movies. It was Cockneys versus Zombies and Yoga Hosers, which is just amazing. Okay, no. So Webtoon's owned by Line. They're not super comic fans. It's just the return they get from comics is actually a lot. It's a lot more than you would be aware of most of the time. By the way, this is our YouTube channel. It's a lot more than most people think exists because they get a lot of money. They get a lot of money. Like so featured comics get read by like 100,000 people, and there's guaranteed ad revenue at the highest ad revenue pricing of like I think 10 cents per thousand views, one of the higher tier like advertising values. And because Webtoon basically, unlike YouTube, completely controls who the biggest people in their field are, that's that 10 cents per thousand views like guaranteed. So that's ad money coming in. One, two, they've got the money they get from sponsorships from other companies to make like content, because sometimes it's not about the quality. It's not about like the amount of money that you're getting from it. Sometimes it's actually about the amount of influence it gives you that allows you to then make more money in separate other ways. So they make their money back. Don't misunderstand it. And they always like, oh, Oni, I love seeing you around, Oni. Welcome. Hi, Oni. Are you doing good? You doing good, my love? It's like what, 10 o'clock over there, 11 a.m. Like, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? Damn. Look at you. 8:50. God damn. Holy shit. Kaza is like on her way, so it must be like slightly earlier for her. Yeah. Tapas. Like, I'm gonna say this. Like, it depends on what kind of stuff you're looking for, guys. Like, Tapas audiences are very different from Webtoon audiences. Tapas audiences tend to be the people looking. She'll be up in a sec. Tapas audiences tend to be looking for at least what it seems to me, tend to be looking for incredibly like well written stories. They're more like veterans. Is that who I think it is? Hello, are you alive?
Hello.
Hello, Kaza.
Oh gosh, hello there.
We got
I
a
am
late.
so
Oh, by
so.
the way, it's all right. Don't worry about it. We got a late submission from Bunnies, or would you like me to call you
Funniest. Okay.
Star? I'm not sure, but I've got it in my DMs. I will just like hit. She's sending it right now, so she's gonna spam that. I've put up all the visuals for BST and stuff on time, so that should be fine. Goddamn.
All right. Would you like to? I mean, would you like to just quickly fill me in on like what we've covered so far,
All right.
or nothing?
So last time we talked about the Webtoon contest. We talked about the fact that it's happening. Literally, all we did. Talked about Tapas, and we had a little bit of a negative view on them, which, as I told everyone else, but I didn't tell you, I'm going to have, like, after some investigating, and it only came to light, like, 3 days ago, and I've been so busy I haven't had time to tell you, I'm going to give, like, a nice warm, hot response, warm, hot defense of Tapas. It's not
Okay.
good. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know
That's
why.
not a problem. I mean, do we have Ash to or
Ash has not
or
replied, so I'm gonna assume he's just passed out. Don't worry, I have a screen prepared. I have a screen prepared for him not showing up. I have a screen prepared for him showing up. Don't worry about it.
that's not a problem. I mean, I'm really sorry. My clock's all
Chill.
dripped out on me, and I thought I had an extra hour, but I didn't.
They all
Oh
forgave
God.
you. I forgive you. Everything's fine. Isn't that right, guys? Yeah, don't stress about it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, don't stress.
Yeah.
about it.
Let me have another look. Like
Yeah. I read all
So
the stuff for Zephin, and I read all the stuff for Never My Ghost to Haunt You. God damn it, Rice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's interesting. I mean, like you see, Tapas is introducing a BL section, but
Yeah.
there have been people who have already submitted BL anyway for it, so I guess that gives them more visibility, I
mean,
suppose.
they're just following. By the way, remember this is the overture, so don't worry about it. We're not. We've not. I waited for you so we could start together.
Yay!
Don't worry
Right.
about it. Yeah, but the reason they're doing that, I think, is because right now, for people new to comics, that's what they're looking for. Because when it comes to your shonen and your shoujo, manga's basically got you covered. So you come online and you're like, I'm looking for BL, GL, and romance, and I want something that's nuanced and doesn't have like one-dimensional female characters. And the only people you can go to are Webtoon and Tapas. Like, it's not really their fault. Have you been on like any of the other sites?
Well, not really. I mean, cause to know the other like good like Japanese or Korean BL or GL, you kind of need to have have a bit of knowledge of the language beforehand if you want to be one of those first adopters.
Yeah, I get
And then or like you have to wait around and see if anyone is willing to translate. So
yeah. I also use
except that
Smack Jeeves and Comic Fury, and they're fine. They're not very good.
well, the problem with BL and GL though is that there are still a lot of the more vocal fans who will be the kind who are like, when they gonna do the do.
Oh my god! Last week that was all week. That was the question of the day. When they gonna do the do? Oh my god! Every time I read BL though, I don't know why. I read BL and I just kind of go, please no, no.
Okay.
I want a developed relationship. I want love.
Okay.
I don't want them to just do the do, and then they always do the do, and I get disappointed.
Okay. Did you want to start talking about the content like proper in a few minutes, or are we still gonna wait for Ash?
In like a minute. We're not waiting for Ash. I waited for you for like 20 minutes. They all wanted to kill me.
I'm sorry,
It's all good.
Sorry, Masen. I don't know what happened about Ash. Like I know for my part what happened. So I was like, oh god, I'm thankfully it could be worse, but I'm just gonna go crawl in a hole later. Oh, nice. Oh, I really love this screen. I really love this screen.
Finding that I had to get a last minute job done. It was so.
Not quite, Kari. All my clocks failed. All my clocks decided to fail.
Carrie,
all my clocks decided to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All your clocks had to fail. Carrie's my.
Yeah.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, Carrie is like my babe. All right. Like I'm gonna marry Carrie. All right. So since we got the nice screen, shall we just quickly introduce ourselves proper for anyone who might have just joined in and isn't sure like who the hell we are, what the hell is going on. Okay. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Catastrophe, better known as Kaz, and apparently really bad at keeping time on this one-off thing. And although I'm the one of the regular moderators and hosts for the Webcomics Hubcast, I am also the editor for Exco, a comic online webtoon, and also edits a bunch of other comics as well.
Yeah, I'm Nen, and I edit like one comic. I'm also like too relaxed to like deal with anything today. No, I edited a comic for Zebra 4 called Val that we're working on. I also do some small edits for on other things. I also do some small other work on film. I do a lot of film work now. Somehow, a lot of people have been calling me lately, and my old friends. So that's most of my background is film and the odd comic and computer science. That's it. I don't know how I'm qualified anymore. As I've just said.
I don't know. I don't know either, because most of my background is actually in print journalism for about like 4 or 5 years, even while I was doing my engineering degree. So, but there's a lot of crossover, I think, in what we do. Like in film, there's a lot of crossover in terms of comicking. Yeah. There's also quite a bit in print. Pulling together a print newspaper and the writing process of it. So there's a lot of like transferable skills in what we do to in order to check what makes a comic good, what makes it and what have you.
Mm.
So right, let's just have a really quick explanation of the two contests and their terms and conditions. Did you want to start with let's start with the Tapas one because I think you're more familiar with it since you're
I
also
love
going
the
to be
Tapas one, and I'm gonna
okay.
okay. So this is the part where like everybody finds out that I'm a traitor to the cause.
That you're a
um,
what?
I'm a traitor to the cause. I love I love the
Oh.
Tapas one for multiple reasons. So
Mhm.
my favorite reasons for loving Tapas one is because from a creative perspective, it is basically that it's all about
Explain
your
the
skill.
context.
Yeah, it's all
Well,
about.
we're explaining the context right now. Like
Yeah.
just a quick overview first before you get into it.
Okay, sure. The Tapas Creator Contest is relatively simple. Tapas Creator Incubator Program is is a system where they try to get in creators who care, artists and writers who writers to writer teams, or just like comic creators who care about making comics on board in their featured program, and it involves writing. Essentially, not a manifesto, writing essentially like a proposal to them with character designs uh, and also scene construction and one or two scenes from your soon to be comic, and
Mhm.
working with them to make it better. First you go through the initial section. They've read through your work and they've liked it and they've called you on. Then you do a little bit of editing before you go to the final stage. That's more or less the Tapas project. You need to, and it requires what story pitch is about 2 to 3 paragraphs. You need to put in some concept. Yeah, as I said, concept art. And if you got any previous work, and also the genres that you like, they like to know about that too.
Mhm.
Um, also, if you've seen, and also one of the best things about it I liked was like they went, if you've seen a novel that's been written on our website, because Tapas also has a writing section where people write their own stories, full on stories complete. If you've seen something that's been written on our website that you think would be a good adaptation, put it down and we'll think about it when we'll look
Mhm.
at it. Um, all those things were very interesting to me, and I think I can get into like why I like this a little bit more because I think most people are more familiar with the Webtoon contest.
Mhm.
The Tapas one is more favorable to me purely because it takes you on your your knowledge, and your past experience. So for more experienced creators, people who've had time to create things, people who have time to make comics and already know the grind and stuff, this is like one of the better ways in, I think.
Yeah, they don't say how much you would be paid, like in order
Mm,
to. If they choose you, they don't say how much they would be paid to
mm,
keep the stuff going, right?
mm.
I mean,
They do not.
on a monthly basis too. Yeah, I think that's one of the one. I think that's one of the ones that people have concerns about. But I think so far, like these creators who've been part of the incubator program, they seem to be pretty happy with it, or
Mm,
they wouldn't have accepted it, I guess.
exactly. Indeed, a lot of them do seem quite happy with it. Also, the limited time span is very helpful, even if you're not happy with it. It's a 3 to 6 month time span where they go, if you do not like working with us, essentially, 3 to 6 months, your contract expires. Everyone who is currently working with them, and I have looked into quite a lot of creators that are working with them and their outlooks, not on, and by the way, not on the Tapas website, because Tapas has an interview with them. I'm talking about their outlooks
Mhm.
on their private, like personal things. I had to like I bought into like 10 Patreons this week, like
Bless you. This is all for the research, the
all for
podcast
the
research
research.
cost.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
so I bought into a bunch of them just to see what they write on their private like Patreons, any complaints and stuff.
Mhm.
Hey, so what's up? And so far, for the most part, they're all really positive about working with Tapas. No real complaints. Yeah, they earn
Mhm.
about 50%. Well, according to so just put down according to Tapas premium creators, they earn about 50% of the key profit. Yes, they do not earn. I wouldn't say they earn about as much as Webtoon creators will earn, at least in the initial amount, or maybe even in the long term. But I think what's better for it is because one, you're getting it based on your skill. Two, there is so much chance to like write different work, and you don't get dropped just because your comic isn't popular. Like one of the things that they do have in there, as I said with the system, where they said if you see a story that's interesting, do you want to adapt it? They also propose stories to you to adapt. So like you could have come up with your whole premise and stuff, and maybe it's not doing too well with the Tapas crowd. They still come to you and they go, "Hey, we've got this other story. Do you want to try it?" You'd probably be really
Give you
good
work,
for it.
basically. So
Yeah.
give work begets more work then.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
they give
great.
you work, so you like in the premise of it. If your work isn't doing well, they're not gonna just drop you like a rock because they're just gonna go, well, the story isn't working with the viewers. Doesn't mean you're shit, you know. Because it still worked for us. And all the other things I also like. And this is one of the things I say I like. I'm fine with, and a lot of creators are not fine with this. And I know a lot of you guys are creators, and you're gonna complain maybe if I say this. I am fine wholeheartedly with them taking half ownership of the work that is made. If it was me and I was making my work and they told me that, I'm fine with it. Provided the fact that I genuinely believe to myself that what I'm gonna get from Tapas will be worth something. So the advertising they'll do for me, the connections they'll give me, the amount of like the amount of presence they'll give me as a creator of my own right, while also paying me. If I believe all those things, yeah.
So it's quid pro quo then, basically, isn't it?
Yeah. The only downside I've seen so far, and I think this was said by one of the writers on one of the websites. I don't remember what website I read it on, but she said the major downside is, it does expire. Yeah, it does expire, which means we talked about that. The contract.
So they don't hold the IP, the ownership of your IP then forever eventually. Okay.
No, it's just as long as you're making it for them. It seems I haven't seen anything about it being permanent. One of the things I was gonna say was like, if they're advertising you, they're putting you out there, and you genuinely think all these things are worth it, go for it. The only thing, and also I've seen is someone said it's just about negotiation, and the problem is because a lot of people who are applying are new creators, they may not be that good at negotiating. But everyone else who's currently doing under the feature program says it was 30 days, yes, but we negotiated and we got terms that we think are fine or good. So. Okay. If you've got a comic idea, you're an experienced artist, and you think you can whip up a good, proper set of a proper summary of your work and character designs and everything, and submit it for someone who most likely
and you know your worth.
Yeah, and you know your worth. Do it. Go to Tapas. They will probably be your way in to the professional, and also I think they also like the idea of printing your work, so they're all on your side.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, for say what you will, but Tapas actually does have a presence at cons and all that too. I mean, the recent Toys Animes and Comic Con in Malaysia, which was back in April. I was really surprised to see Tapas there and not Webtoon instead. But the stand that they had, the presence was really rich. I really enjoyed what I saw over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they will be They do have that clout. I mean, you say what you will about Line Webtoon's the one who's going to cons, but Tapas do as well.
Yeah.
Hang.
What?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Okay. Webtoon.
Sorry, no. I was just reading. I need to bring down my mic sensitivity. Yeah. I will do that.
I just turned you down on my end. Don't worry about it. I turned you down in the trend. Okay. Yeah, so you're cool. It should be fine. If anything's wrong, I'll just switch it. But
yeah. So. Yeah, sorry. Did you guys get that earlier about Tapas con presence?
Con presence is really important for companies like that.
Hello.
They probably did. It's fine. Con presence is really important for companies like Tapas and Webtoon. I would say that Webtoon does do more, but again, as I said earlier in the pre-show, Webtoon is also a multi-million-dollar company. Tapas is not as rich. So far, I haven't found any company.
I think let's quickly see into a quick overview of the live Webtoon contest, which again we're saying that most people are familiar with, but but it's not their first rodeo at the contest either. It's just that this time they've expanded to have to be a bit more inclusive genre wise, because the last time it used to be a bit more it's just superhero only. It's one whatever genre or whatnot. Yeah. So you've got 4 possible categories you can submit your story in, and they all 4 of them have different requirements, which sort of ties into what they expect out of their weekly featured creators anyway. Yes. So most gripping, which is thriller, horror, supernatural, mystery, or crime, you by the time the contest period is over, you will need to have uploaded at least 5 episodes with about 40 panels per episode. Most laughs, which is comedy, slice of life. So think of My Giant Nerd Boyfriend, Mers, and all that. Each have had 8 episodes up and about minimum 12 panels per episode. So I'd say your regular this kind of excludes your regular yonkoma, but if you have multiple yonkoma that go inside a go inside an episode that kind of covers the requirement.
Yeah.
Most epic, which is fantasy, sci-fi, action, super. So think of an ordinary Tower of God and like 4 episodes minimum with about 35 panels per episode. And then most feels drama, romance, family. So think of your I Love You especially. 6 episodes minimum with about 40 plus panels per episode minimum. And it really seems like a lot, but assuming you know how to plan your panels diligently, it's kind of easy to actually hit that requirement. You know, some people end up like, this is a bit of a cheat. Please use it as a spice, not a staple. But sometimes repeating panels as like, you get closer and closer to the subject, to build the tension and all that. That's sort of the thing that can eat away at your panel requirements. So it's also there to make sure that episodes are lengthy enough so people can enjoy a nice meaty episode.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then like
thing.
Yeah, it's like, it's less. That's why it plays emphasis on like, at least you still need to put up that much per week, like give or take. Like, okay, fine, but perhaps like you can end up uploading like once every 2 weeks and still hit the minimum episode requirement. But let's see, June 11 to the first round is September 13, right?
Yeah.
How many weeks is that? So let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, that's okay. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so that gives you like maybe potentially like a week, maybe a few weeks where you could get away without uploading an episode if it takes you a while to create. But it is still almost like you're expected to do almost an episode per week.
Yeah, that you are
at the minimum.
Yeah, they're also really strict as well because they're not the ones administrating this competition. If you didn't know, it's a company called Kaleidoscope Promotions, which after several hours of looking them up, because they don't show up normally. After several hours of looking them up, they have been involved in a lot of competitions prior to this. Google. So they're pretty legit, but they also means like there's no allowances. So if you do not hit exactly what they told you to hit, like the next thing they do is just go, well, you don't hit it, we're gonna call it off. And also part of the legal stuff was Webtoon is allowed to take less than. So they said they're gonna take 8. They're allowed to take less than 8. They're allowed to take like 4 if they want. If you don't all hit the requirements, they're allowed to just like drop people. They're not gonna go, we have to have 8, or we have to have this number.
I suppose it depends. If they think like nobody matches the quality, what's the point of giving them the 5K? Giving the best of the worst, if you will, 5K.
Yeah.
So anyway, so there are about like the 2 contenders per category, the 4 categories mentioned, will get the chance to win $5,000 if assuming you. Whoa, good grief! The dogs are really excited about the prospect of money. you have to pardon them in the background. We do try to quiet. But
she's got a chicken nugget dog.
No, not the chicken nugget dog this time. So so for each category, you get like up to 2 contenders can be selected to win $5,000, assuming you've hit the episode the minimum episode and panel requirements and that they're decent enough quality. So if you look at judgment criteria, it's talking about like a level of audience engagement, which isn't just your views and your subs, but probably the quality of your comments as well is 40%. And the judges' assigned scores make up the remaining 60%. So you've got like for narrative, like strong characters, plot, or genre-specific attributes. Does it match the genre? For pacing, clarity, readability is the rest of it. So if you get to that stage of the top 8, you get an invitation to the Webtoon Green Room Party at New York Comic Con, which is pretty sweet. Although there's only up to a certain amount that will compensate. So if you're in a team, probably up to 2 people only could go as part of that team, and it's only a certain amount that they will cover. So if it goes beyond their budget, you kind of have to fork out the rest anyway.
Yeah.
If you get up to top 8, you will get the offer to become a featured creator on Webtoon, which is probably why they're strict enough to say that they might not need to do 8 in case there's no one that matches the feature level. And then you get assistance from the editors in creating maybe a few more episodes for the next round. So the next round is, I mean, you need about 2 episodes minimum during that 1 month period, which is actually pretty lenient, again, going by their Webtoon like weekly featured requirements. And then from there, like so you sort of like going, if you get to that stage, like top 8, you sort of going against like one other person at this rate to try and get like the top to the top of your category, and then you get another $25,000 if you make. And then in the final round, four finalists, the 4 finalists top of each category will publish like one more episode in you've got about a week to do it. And then they will choose the best story wise, and then the grand prize winner wins an additional $50,000. So that's the sticker amount, like, you know, you giving all those figures is really one of those like enticements. This is why a lot of people want to do the Webtoon contest, and Webtoon has always been one of those, like, sort of like, you know, just it's a bit of a Shia LaBeouf moment, like, yo, just do it, which pretty much is how they're trying to get new creators on, really, or their current stable of creators to just do. Now, this is the point I have contention with. Just do something new, and which kind of worries, like, I mean, fans of like maybe ongoing series and the like.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially if you're already quite a hard worker, you update quite a lot.
Also, the aftermath of like a bunch of people making comics just for the contest. The aftermath of a bunch of people making comics just for the contest, and then just stopping when they don't win, because people will do that. And like that's just gonna leave a hole, and like it's not gonna be the worst thing in the world, but the effect will still be felt for people who've been trying to get like noticed, and all of a sudden 600 new comics come in, and then like 500 of them get dropped, and then they just got a lot of dead weight like sitting around taking up like leaderboard space until like a year later. In some cases,
it is very much a shame. Although, I mean, if you're like a creator who's been sitting on the fence for ages, this is probably one of the better ones for you to gain, because it just goes as like, you know, just publish. Like, you don't have to think about, I mean, coming off as like, you know, overly professional. Just get doing to it, like, and then learn along the way stuff. So in some ways, it can be encouraged for, you know, people who want to like get into it. Interestingly enough, like, another creator has, I mean, received an email response about like what happens for people who've got existing series, and the response was that they are allowed to submit their current one as a new re-upload.
Yes, it's
and you know, so both of them.
It's on the rules. Like, so when I was outlining every single section of the rules earlier this morning, I saw that, and it was basically it doesn't matter where it's from, as long as nobody owns it, you can re-upload purely for this contest. And they won't stop.
You mean like as long as no one beside yourself, right?
Yeah, as long as it belongs to no one but yourself or the team you're working with, you can re-upload. So if you have got a series and you are thinking of entering this, it would probably be, and you already have got like a proper running series you spend a lot of time on, maybe take it down, redraw something, re-upload. Or because if you think about it,
you're supposed to leave it up. You can leave it up, apparently, according to according. Something like that. Let me just double check and see what the email, I forgot said. Any existing discovered series can be submitted by being uploaded as a completely new series starting on June 11, 2018. You can leave your original series as is and have 2 running series during the contest. Yes. You would just have to be sure that your series meets panel and episode guidelines. So for somebody who might have not hit the minimum panel requirement, maybe in the first pass of the series, it's sort of like you get a chance to redo it as a contest cut.
Yes, exactly.
And without having to take down your stuff. But
and for most people, they improve as they draw. So this would be a good chance to like redraw anything from before you're like, oh, I don't want to look at that anymore. You know?
I feel a bit mixed about that. To be honest. I mean, but you know, it might be another chance if you guys, I suppose. So I mean. Yeah. Like, I can really think of, like, I mean, the series that I work on, like, in the first episode was a prologue that was short as hell. So if it was to be re-edited to fit contest requirements, you're talking about merging the prologue and the first chapter together proper. Yeah, and you're also looking at, like, maybe if it isn't enough panels, you need to pad it out and the like. It's a bit hard. Like, I'm not sure what to feel about like this minimum like
Panel
panels
length.
per episode thing.
Yeah, it was weird to me
Mm-hmm.
too because a lot of featured comics, like for example, we just did that review on Winter Moon recently, and Winter Moon
Mm-hmm.
has like less than 10 panels per chapter if I remember clearly. It's not a lot.
Oh yes.
And like we
Mm-hmm.
also were looking at Catloaf that day. Remember right after the last podcast we were talking about Catloaf and
Oh,
the
cat love the
way
cutest.
it's adorable. But the way like we're talking about scene I was talking about Kyra was talking to me about scene placement and telling me some stuff and I noticed that it's also very short. Like incredibly short.
It is, yes.
And that's what you notice. Like they've made all these requirements, but then I also come down to it and I went, wait, maybe because these two comics technically come under comedy and slice of life. So I checked any of their longer
Mm-hmm.
series, any of their like more fantasy thriller horror series that are featured, and they do roughly fall under this um, chicken nugget dog. They do roughly fall under this panel requirement of like 20 plus panels. A lot of them are 20 plus panels per chapter, like pumped out. So I think they did basically took like an average. Yeah.
Sorry, just give me a moment to shut
Yeah,
the dogs up.
you go do that. So, Star, let me just answer some questions. Star, yes, you can upload two separate series of yours for the competition, but you'd have to re-upload them. So you'd have to re-edit them to fit the panel requirements and upload them. Um, let's see.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
Winter.
yeah. So
Sorry.
sorry. Yeah. Soap did say that Winter Moon does upload multiple times a week, but the thing is, right? The contest is minimum X episodes with like how many panels per episode, and that
Yeah,
kind of does make it a bit annoying. So
because it's like
you're looking at
because if they said
yeah.
if they said in a week we expect 12 panels a week, then that'd be different because you could bend around that and go, well, I can only draw. I'm drawing a slice of life, and technically, some slice of life comics can only be like a panel long, really. Like it's just a
Mm-hmm.
couple drawings, but it's just one panel, and it's like, all right, I can draw a slice of life comic in one panel. If I draw 12 comics a week, which I could probably do if I've got the kind of time for it, if I'm drawing one panel only, then yeah, I can pull off a very simple like 12 panels a week thing. But they want it to be one submission, one like update 12 panels, one update 40 plus panels. We don't get that Winter Moon treatment when we get to do we get to do like sub 10 but 4 times a week. Um let me just send it to you because I've got like a file on it. I'll find the link for you and I'll send it to you if you want Star. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just they don't give you that luxury. Are you okay there?
Yeah, you're both fine. I'm totally fine. I mean, it's just I mean the dogs. I think the minute they heard about like panel requirements, they just started going like
Oh, they went
ape
crazy.
shit again.
Everyone knows we love talking about panel requirements. It's like talking about taxes. It's like the sexiest thing ever. Everyone's going crazy.
Which I mean I get the need for it because length and modal. You want readers to have enough like content. You don't get lazy, but at the same time, for certain series that are really good, having to fit some arbitrary panel requirement kind of stifles the creativity.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of the slice of life and comedy like comics. Besides just Winter Moon, things like As Per Usual, Blue Chair,
Mm.
Mers, they're definitely not 12 panels per update.
Yeah, my
Again,
problem with Blue Chair is like including Blue Chair is also a comic that goes up to um
everywhere,
like
everywhere.
60 panels an update if he wants to. He doesn't care. He does weird things. He's untouchable. He took a hiatus from Webtoon and then uploaded all his new comics onto his website and then just ignored them. He's different.
Oh boy. That's another story. That's another story altogether.
Different
I
boy.
suppose. But I mean, I suppose like when I said multiple yonkoma to make up the episode requirement, like in an episode, I was thinking about something like Super Secret is built like they're structured like bytes of 4 4 4.
Yeah.
So that might be a useful way for some people to maybe structure this. So think of like things like Azumanga Daioh, Tsube Children, which are like multiple like bits of 4 like stacked up together to make a long episode.
Yeah.
Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun. Oh, that is a good one.
Yeah, that is.
It would fall under romance, but it also does fall under comedy as well. And each like chapter, as it were, is made up of like multiple like lots of four. So to tell like the overarching story in the chapter. So that could work as well.
Okay.
If I think that's sort of the kind of format they're trying to go for with their like comedy and slice of life kind of comics. Da, 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 da. Shen is like insane. I talked to him on Discord and he's nothing like he is in the comics. Oh, I really wonder what he's like.
Terrifying. Like I'm not gonna lie, everything he does is relatable. My thing is, they're not even looking. What bothers me is the requirement that's like 40% is what user engagement, if I'm correct. Yeah. See, this is my thing, right? With the user engagement thing. This is also the reason why I like Tapas more. User engagement doesn't mean anything in terms of what's interesting or good or what will be good when you put it on the front page. Because yeah, okay, they managed to have high user engagement in Discover. It means something. That's a lie. It's not. It doesn't mean anything. The correct statement is it doesn't mean the same. It doesn't mean as much as they are putting it as 40%. I would say 30, but like they've also put 60% of it being like what they judge. So in a weird way, I think that they're doing that so that they can judge a good comic and go, all right, they didn't have engagement, they probably didn't get seen, so we'll put them up front anyway because they're still really good.
I think so. I mean, so I think they're trying to cover the bases there because they don't. I think they don't want to get like put through the ringer. Webtoons doesn't because I mean, just in case they end up picking a comic that people either because you do at the end of the day the readers are still like pretty much going to be how you get your money in too. So if you're going to pick a comic that's really abysmal but just because judges like it and stuff like that, that's also not ideal. And I also think that they don't want to like miss out on a potential like could have been that if it's just down to them judging.
Yeah, indeed.
Like that's probably why they need it. That's why they have it at 40/60. But I just wish that there was a bit like there's a bit more like clarity on like what viewer engagement is because it's sort of a semi-open secret, but Webtoons you could just you could have the bots. You could have bots. I think you know this, right, Nen?
Yeah, I know. You could just use bots and that would
for views and subs, but but that also, I hope they also do take a look, like Webtoons do take a look at the quality of user engagement, which is most likely going to be in the comments section, and that can be fun to read at times, depending on like the quality of like comments you get.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like the thing is, with the quality of comments is that it could turn out that your comments are. You're getting a lot of engagement, but your comments are barren. It means you're not building a community. And if you're not building a community, then essentially, having you on the front page is going to be really valuable to them. I think this is my major issue with. Okay, so let's say major. This is a tiny issue. We've seen from previous competitions that some stuff goes up to featured and doesn't hit that like skill cap anymore that they required. Maybe it hit it initially, but not continually. And because they're not choosing people based on experience, they're just choosing you based on what you put out. And it's very possible for a person without comic experience to still make good work because it is possible. What are they like? I don't know that because they're not looking for that because they're not specifically looking for what do you call it? Really experienced people. I have this feeling that you'll get a bunch of some people who get to the front page and the quality will suffer because of the pressure of making front page content. Because the front page is a scary place. Like if you're a creator, it's like it's like ground zero. It's like you're just there. Everyone's there. Everyone's making really good content.
Pretty much. So it's really like Line Webtoon like sort of posits itself as like, hey, if you got like a rags to riches like Cinderella kind of dream or whatever, could make it happen. But at the same time, it's sort of like buyer beware about like what you want to get into. So go into it like realize that yes they are they are doing their best to try and like make make it possible for people to have a paid way to make comics, enjoy it and the like. And I remember like mentioning it on Twitter, like when I was quite frustrated with how like past creators could like would end up ditching their works, and like this contest seems to favor like new series, new creators and the like. And I was assured by the head of content that they are still, it's hard for them to hard for people to see it, but they are still always looking at all the titles on Discover to see how they're doing, and like whether people are going to be going to be at that level to like maybe be featured someday.
Indeed.
So that's probably why they've been doing things like the Discover like daily like features for.
Yeah, they've been doing that a lot more recently, haven't they?
Yes, that the weekly recommended, monthly recommended, and the like.
I'm liking the fact that they're putting time into it. The thing is with them is like this metric they came up with recently.
Mm-hmm.
I say came up with. I think maybe this metric is what they use on the regular. So that's probably one of the reasons why it makes it so difficult to like look through 7,000 comics and Discover. It's because you're still having to like essentially every time you say, let's say we pick 10 this week to look through, we still have to go, oh, do they fit all of these metrics that we normally use? So I feel like they've been using these metrics a lot, and because of their
and small staff too.
Exactly, they do have a very small staff. Despite the fact that they do make money, Line does not put them in such a situation where they're overstaffed as hell. Like they don't have the staff that the actual Line Corporation does. They're just Webtoon. They just got their staff of maybe at most 1,000 people across both countries. So we need to consider that.
The American side probably in like just only gotten double digits at most. I highly doubt it is that size, but yes.
Yeah.
So on that note, right, I think we've talked about the nitty-gritty of the competitions enough, like why they're good, why you should beware, like who they're probably like suited for, like what you should look out for. I think we should start talking about like general like tips and general tips for both of these events, and also which can apply to like general comicking, and also maybe a little bit of like specific genre specific stuff. We would start with Webtoon, like what people might expect out of things like most feels or most epic. I'll most likely be a lot of my stuff is gonna be quite general, as like from like an editor who's editing anything kind of perspective, but I'll try and like hone in like the family. Everyone.
Sorry, DC, can you say that again? Just the last couple lines.
Sorry, most feels.
Yeah.
So most feels like drama, romance, or family. That's the category that Line Webtoon designates. Now, I think as generally speaking, right?
Yeah.
Not just for the feels category, but for any comic that you make, you don't have to make like a totally new, groundbreaking idea to succeed. It's really not realistically possible, is it? Like then,
no.
What do you think?
Like look,
people think that it has to be totally original. It has to be never been done before. Blah blah blah.
I believe very much in the totally original perspective, but it's not the perspective to go for. It's the perspective to go for when you've gotten together some base ideas that work, and you've gone, all right, these work. How do I add on to this to make it better?
But the base ideas themselves are not like totally original. No. That's what I should clarify.
Indeed.
All the popular stuff, like I know teens with superpowers, that's been done a lot before. I'm pretty sure. Just look at Boku no Hero Academia and a few other things. I Love You, love Triangle with a not privileged main female MC, and then the guys fighting over her are like pretty like rich and privileged. That's a staple of a lot of Korean dramas. A lot of like the popular webtoons, if you scrutinize closely, is definitely like a lot of very familiar elements there. But it's really down to how the creator like presents their story slightly differently, or whether they've thrown in a different like story element or theme that makes it like, oh wow, this is something I don't think I've ever seen before. So you don't feel so you get that sense of familiarity. So like if you like something in a particular genre, a particular kind of theme, you'll be more drawn haha to give that series a chance. But at the same time, you need like some different things here and there to keep it fresh. Maybe it's how the author has like certain characters like speak, like they have different like speech patterns that you've not seen in your regular run of the mill shoujo manga. And maybe it's the art style itself and the use of color, what have you. That's kind of what we mean by that's kind of what like creativity and like uniqueness and quote unquote originality, like how it really works. So for any new creators out there who are stressing their heads over the fact that their ideas have a lot of similarity to certain things, relax. Just make sure that you've got enough of the way that your story is like to make it you, and you will be fine.
Oh, indeed, massive. Like it's very important for you to do your story your own style, even if you are using a lot of let's say pre-made assets. You're using a lot of pre-made ideas. You still need to give it your own feel. That's why the reason we can have Naruto and Dragon Ball, two stories that are disturbingly similar at their base levels, but still have their own very separate fan bases and people who like them for what they have, is because they took some base elements and they built on top of it to make their own original thing. And that's what you should really be looking for, especially when it comes to most epic and most feels. The feels would be so many. I really want to read. I don't want to read any submission from most feels. But when it comes to most gripping and most laughs, especially most gripping, most laughs. Look, comedy is incredibly is seemingly subjective. In my opinion, after working with a lot of comedians over time, I personally think comedy is more of a science. When it comes to presenting it to people, there are things that will definitely resonate with them. It's not like much like with what Kaz said, building on like a basic idea is what works for you in comedy. So yes, relatability is useful, but subverting their expectations. In producing a story that is so far-fetched and so strange, like it's what someone like Norm Macdonald would do. If you know Norm, he does a lot of long-winded comedy. You don't know him, do you? He's really American. I don't know if you watch American comedy anywhere.
I mean, if you're talking about long-winded comedy, I mean, the only person who comes to mind, and that's not a comic person, not a comic creator, is Eddie Izzard.
Yeah, Eddie Izzard does it too. Yeah, really long-winded comedy, but there's a point to it. Like, there's some absurdity, but you get like jokes in between. Comedy is very much a science, and there's very much systems around it that you can use to your advantage to make your story more riveting, more interesting, get people getting the laughs. Don't just watch Rick and Morty and then steal the idea. That's a really popular form of comedy this generation.
Toilet humor.
Yeah, toilet humor is not funny. Okay, I'm gonna tell you this now. There is no poop humor in the world that is funny, unless something funny happened before it, and then it could be funny.
I think it's what you're saying is that, right? I mean, well, relatability is like one of those like surefire ways to get a few laughs and all that. I mean, readers. Sometimes readers do have guilty pleasures, and like toilet humor can be quite good and all that. But most people like to have worked a bit for their laugh.
Yes.
So you kind of have to make sure that make sure like don't like some comics will be a little like they will be funny, but they kind of like blah blah. You kind of need your IQ high and all blah blah blah. Sorry, I realize this is part of a meme right, at this rate, but that's it. Like those can be kind of rewarding, and and also like don't look down on the Yonkoma format. Definitely not, because the Yonkoma format works because there is a certain rhythm and structure to the different 4 panels. So
indeed. If you don't know what Yonkoma is, by the way, she means 4 coma.
4 coma.
Just gonna clear that for everyone.
Yeah, 4 panel comic. I think people who've done a bit of their research know that the 4 panel comic starts with your introduction, your development, your twist, and then your resolution.
Indeed.
Or most Western newspaper comic strips, even those that are the 3 panel format, not necessarily 4, maybe they're 5 or whatnot. Yeah. They follow a similar rhythm to it, and that's
indeed. It's basically introduce the element and give them the payoff. Something happens in between. It's that thing that if you've ever seen that meme where it's like, first we get the thing, then and then profit. Basically, that is comedy rules right there, right?
Yes.
First you get the thing, you introduce the element to the scene. Then, who cares what happens? Just something has to happen, and then profit. You can also make that something happen over 2 panels or 3 panels. But the longer your panel length becomes, the more you have to keep reminding people of the MacGuffin.
The rhythm. Yes. I mean, just as an exercise, I mean, we've already mentioned like the rhythm of 4 comma, 4 comma.
Yes.
Go and look at some of the shorter comics that are like comedy slice of life. Actually, I mean, go look at Gekkan Shoujo. Go and look at like as per usual. Go and look at Winter Moon even.
Working 100.
See that is. I mean, I'm gonna say that a lot of them are going to be following that rhythm for their comic delivery. And occasionally you might subvert it, just a bit. And that also in itself is a way to like deliver your lils. But there is that structure to it. I mean, and I mean you'll notice it if you're the kind of person who is going to be writing comedy.
Exactly.
What do you have to say about what do you have to say about gripping stuff?
Okay, so gripping stuff is really weird, right? Currently I'm working with Zebra 4 on a horror comic. And the thing about when it comes to gripping is basically, if I remember, the horror genre, the thriller genre, and they overlap ridiculously. I think there's 1 or 2 more. There's 2 more genres in there, but they overlap ridiculously. Like horror, thriller, supernatural, mystery, and crime. They overlap massively, and it's very hard to write a pure version of any of them without like dipping into the next one. It's basically impossible, really. So when you're writing your most gripping, you want to try and, how do I put it? You want to try and focus not just on subverting expectations, but on providing what is logical narrative. When it comes to people who read these, when it comes to horror and crime especially, people who read these are not your run-of-the-mill regular readers. They're not, so the people you're getting there are less common and less, they're not coming for just, random like stuff. They want it to be more, what do you call it? I know what you're saying, and Carrie just pointed a point. Thriller arguably covers almost all the genres. Yes, you are correct. Thriller is basically everywhere. Like, it's very hard to not write a thriller because everything has some thrill to it. But I'm just saying, if somebody was thinking of writing a purely thriller comic, I was gonna actually point out, don't do that because it's not possible. But I don't think it's possible really. But writing,
because if you want to be anal, thrillers are characterized by the moods they give you. So heightened feelings of suspense, excitement, surprise, anticipation, anxiety. So
that's in everything.
Yes, that's pretty much why.
Even in comedy. So like when you're writing, I would say focus more on like trying to get your horror, your crime correct. But you also need to remember you need to write smart. These people aren't coming just for regular stuff. They're quite. I would say that they are intelligent people looking for a challenge of sorts with what they're reading. I'm not saying the other fans aren't intelligent. I'm just saying these people are purposefully looking to punish themselves by reading. And trying to learn.
Just as massos that people make.
A bunch of massos coming to read. So when it comes to your horror, try and make your killer, your monsters make sense in your universe. They don't have to be realistic. Just make them make sense. Make things they do logical. Make sure rules sort of stay semi-constant. Because when people start questioning why did James die but Gretchen didn't, then like they're gonna start looking at your comic a little weird. And with crime, you have to make it seem, and this is the thing I learned when I was learning writing. You have to make it seem like you're leaving trails, and the trails have to be real. Don't just make trails.
Foreshadowing.
Exactly. Don't just make trails to fuck with people. The trails have to be legit, but you cannot give them enough information to answer the question of who killed the butler. You can't give them enough information. You have to give them just enough.
Just enough so they can start making guesses. I mean, this is.
Yes.
I mean, say what you will about CSI, but and all the other crime dramas, but it is worth watching for that sort of thing, I suppose.
Yeah, they do tell you a lot. Like you watch. She's right. Watch Elementary. Watch CSI. Watch those things. Not because they're smart or incredible crime dramas, but because they do the trope of, So there's A, B, C, D.
Breadcrumbs.
Yeah, they leave you breadcrumbs. They leave you like as Rice said, they leave you A, B, C, D. But really, all this time it was fucking G. G was doing the crime the whole time. Like, and you wanna be able to do that, and they don't want to, and they shouldn't feel like it's a cop out when they don't understand why the killer's the killer. They should be like, I'm an idiot. It was right in front of me the whole time. You know?
Yeah, that sort of kind of like mental payoff. It really get. I mean, I mean, I can imagine the readers going like, "Oh, dang it!" But they still leave feeling fulfilled because everything makes sense, and you took them through that journey. So sort of like that. Was anything else you wanted to cover about that genre? Because I was going to give some genre specific, like sort of semi genre specific tips for the segment.
There was only one more thing. It was for supernatural. It was for supernatural and it was for supernatural because mystery and crime are almost the same thing. Ash wants if he can join. I don't know. He said he'll see if he can come in time. I was like, maybe if we're not done.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we can get his perspective as a creator, like sort of towards the end. Towards the end of this, so maybe
that would be useful. For the supernatural section, please, when you're drawing a supernatural comic, don't just go, there's monsters and there's a portal. Please, like, it's interesting, but it's overdone as shit. Like, it's good to take the premise of monsters in a portal, but like, do something else with it. Do something else with it, and like, make it interesting.
How about horror? Like, that one's quite a hard one to write for me personally. At the risk of it making everything like a jump scare and the like.
Yeah, so like instead of having everything become a jump scare, what we're doing for Val is a lot of subtle fear. Because the thing about all these genres, and this is a general point. So this is me segueing into Kaz's point. Watch that, guys.
Yay!
High level segue. A general point of notice reference for everything you're gonna work on. Making it relatable is important. Making it relatable is important. Fantasy and supernatural do overlap, by the way. But how do I put it? They overlap, and they're basically the same thing in a lot of respects. But it's all about how you play it. Supernatural tends to usually, at least for what I've seen, it doesn't always apply, by the way. Supernatural tends to usually be, there's a bunch of ghosts, but there's also normal people. Fantasy tends to be, no one is normal. Everyone is ghosts. But for the general thing, making it relatable is very important. Making sure people can look at your characters and go, what would I do if I was in that situation? Is kind of important. Look at them and go, if you're going to draw a guy flying through the air, that's great. Then maybe make him go to school, or maybe make him have issues with his mom, or maybe make him have issues with his dad, or maybe just make him like he just moved out or something. Make some part of his life so easily relatable that anybody can go, oh, that guy reminds me of me. Like,
or that guy reminds me of someone I know.
Exactly. And then immediately they kind of lock in with some of your characters and they go, oh, I love these characters because they're so relatable. Nothing about them is relatable. They cast magic and they killed zombies, but they just moved out from their parents' house and they're down on their luck. That's what's important. Yeah.
I think something like I Love You does that pretty decently. For the most part. Thanks Nen for that high level segue. It's because I was going to cover like how do I make my characters relatable. So, and really there's not much else advice we can offer to you other than consume all the things, observe all the things. To make good comics, for artists, people know that to make good art, you consume a lot of art. You observe what a lot of people are doing. You want to see try to apply their elements in your work. But a lot of art, the better artists don't just take inspirations from other people's art. They're actually looking at other media, whether they're looking at games, they're looking at things they've read, they're looking at outside scenery, the law. The same thing applies to comics. At its essence, you're telling the story, and stories are only as good, as good as the people who are also not just so not just the ones who are writing it, but also the ones who are reading it. So, really, this is going to seem like a really scary prospect for a lot of you who are more introverted, but it's not impossible. Start observing people around you a lot more. And if you don't have any people around you, start observing the people you might meet, whether on the internet or just
Yeah.
like surroundings when you're just out and about. I mean, I'm sure many of us will have come into contact with have to come into contact with people at some point in our lives, whether you're studying or you're working or you're a hermit at home and the like. Pay attention to them. You don't always have to say things to elicit a reaction out of them, but pay attention to how they react to certain events, how they react to certain when something I think one of my most interesting life experiences was just watching this really deadpan person react like a total squeally excited fangirl in front of being presented with this this random cake that I made. This is my housemate, by the way.
Yeah.
So human behavior, interpersonal dynamics. The best authors pay attention to this sort of things. And as much as books and other media will do, will give you a good look into how people can be. You gotta realize also that some of this is also seen through the eyes of the author.
Yeah.
So we try and make your own conclusions as well by with your own raw observations.
Indeed. Oh, by the way, everyone, Ash is here.
Oh, hello, Ash. I'm gonna
unmute him. I just muted him so you could finish talking. Hey, Ash, can you hear?
Yeah,
us?
sure.
Hey, how are you doing?
Hi. Yes.
Oh God damn it, Ash, you're so
Do you
quiet.
have a screen for him?
Yeah, I have a screen for him. This is what I deal with every time. God damn it, this woman, she's gonna kill me.
I'm sorry I'm late, guys. I had a lot. Well.
That's all right. All right. We were just covering tips and the like.
Yeah.
Genre specific genre specific tips and all that. Although a lot of these can be sort of cross applied to other genres too. There we go.
Yeah, you happy?
Wow.
Now? Jesus, God.
Very dashing.
Should I
very
introduce
dashing.
myself eventually?
No,
go for it. Yes.
Yeah, you'll be fine, buddy. Just raise your volume a little bit so we can hear you properly, because you're real quiet.
Mhm.
Hold on.
Yeah. Oh God. Kaza, continue. Entertain the people.
Is what's Ash doing right now?
He's going to make his microphone louder. He doesn't know what we're talking about because he just woke up, so we should just talk about it. Yeah, go ahead.
What about
right.
Oh my God.
That is too loud.
Very sorry.
Oh Jesus.
Okay. All right.
What about now?
Okay, that's fine.
That's better.
That's fine.
All right. Do you want to say hi? Do you want to say hi and tell the audience who you are, what you do?
All right. Hi guys. I'm Wednesday Ash, and I am project lead on a Webtoon / Tapas webcomic called Cloverlines.
Yeah. It's really cool.
What's Cloverlines about?
Well, the basic premise of Cloverlines is that it's the 25th century, and a virtual idol is essentially the Jesus figure. And it's told through the eyes of a secular band in which the leader was a failed idol. And idol in the context is like a priest of this virtual idol type religion.
Okay.
Ah, that wordplay of idols. That is interesting.
Yeah.
And also it's set in future, so there's probably elements of sci-fi in there too.
Yeah, for sure. This is I don't mind discussing the basic context of it. If you read the comic, it doesn't really touch into it heavy-handedly. It's approaching it it's a slice of life comedy thing, but we're making the discovery of the themes and stuff. We're doing it slowly rather than that usually info dump at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. See, this is an example of what we covered earlier about takes known elements and put your own twist in it. So
Indeed.
Series set in the future, lots of series out there. Idols. Idol people. It's in idol groups girl singers and all that. Love Life is there. Idol Master is there.
God,
people are familiar with that sort of thing. Potential I mean, comics that and like media that touch on like slight religious things, they exist. But then play the way that the way that this works is that you like I said, they played on the word itself, idol there, and that's its. So
Yeah.
and then also like the way that the story has been like slowly like slowly like delivered to the reader rather than like say input dump, like requiring you requiring you to have all that information about the universe before you like can really get into it. Yeah, so that's sort of like an example of how a combination would work.
Sorry. So like part of the approach is I'm gonna touch on what you said. Like sometimes when you are telling a story in a weird sci-fi world, there is a kind of sort of urge for the author at the very least, like I don't want to say amateur because that has a negative connotation, but I literally
newbies to the genre.
Newbies to the genre, but when I say amateur, I mean literally not getting paid for it.
Okay.
Like they're just starting out working on stuff on spec. It's not meant to be like a put down. I'm an amateur.
Yeah.
So when like people starting out trying to like ply their craft alone, because most people do that to start as a hobby. They kind of sort of have the urge to like, hey, you need to understand the universe from the get.
Oh my god.
So they have this kind of sort of overlong prologue where it's kind of like it really makes the air of the work pretentious.
Yes.
When that's not the intention at all, the author just wants you to know, hey, this is the world and this is the setup. But especially in modern times where we're overexposed in a way to like stuff like Star Wars and
and Tolkien. Goddamn Tolkien.
Anyway, we're overexposed to like genre fiction.
Yes.
Those kind of sort of prologues are actually less needed than it was like in the 60s, 70s, or 20s, 30s when the first pulp stuff came out, because there is a general understanding in people who actually seek out this kind of sort of stuff of the tropes and cliches that work. So you're almost at it. You can see it as an advantage. Like, I already have a certain base of sci-fi and fantasy literate people, so we can just get to the story to some extent, and just focus on the human aspects of it, and sprinkle world building when relevant, rather than front load world building, and then you're only left with a human story when the world building is out of the way. Why don't just set it in the real world? Okay, there's no sense of discovery that way, in a sense.
Yeah, I mean that means your world building has always been. I mean, world building particularly in terms of the fantasy, sci-fi, genre, and maybe even supernatural like genres can be one of those things like the devil's in the details, and then you go, oh shit. I mean, what if my people don't understand? What if my readers don't understand? I'm gonna have to like convey this. Like I think that's what everyone's fear is, that their readers don't understand. So you can sort of say that what you're saying is sort of like almost at this point, because of how familiar people are these days with the genre, it's a form of overcompensation, isn't it?
Something like that. And to that extent, it sounds like it's harder to write genre fiction in modern times. Actually, easier to write genre fiction in modern times. When I say like, oh yeah, you can't do a prologue or whatever, and sometimes when this is something I kind of sort of encounter when people ask me about how to write genre fiction. Sorry, just to clarify, genre fiction means anything that's not literary, as in anything with genre fiction. Like sci-fi is genre fiction, fantasy is genre fiction. Anything that's not real life, literally real life stuff, is genre fiction.
Yeah. I mean, it's really great that they brought up that point, like Ash, because because I one of my main project that I edit on, which is Exco, is it's a story about Gijinka pens. Like pens are like human shaped fairies, and they have like superpowers and like. So the thing that I've noticed, like there's no like huge exposition. There's no huge exposition dump in the start. There's no like I mean and the like. And one thing I've noticed is that we've always felt a bit, oh dang it, the readers keep going, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what is going on. And sometimes you kind of feel like, yeah, maybe we're not doing something quite right by not giving them enough information. At the same time, however, there will be readers who just come in and they don't really get invested. So there's only so much you can do, right?
Yeah.
So
because some people think
okay,
so
you're gonna
because some people think like some people think you're gonna write a high fantasy as well, like considering what we're on this fancy topic. When it comes to high fantasy, people think you have to explain everything as well, because high fantasy has very hard set rules and like the things you can and can't do. But like, and while I'll say those stories are less popular in webtoons, you should understand that it doesn't matter. Introducing it the way Ash just pointed out, in which all you do is you just tell the story. The points will outline themselves, and as long as you do not like go outside of them, people will understand. Your readers aren't stupid.
Some can be, but some can be, but most readers are not stupid. The vocal ones probably are.
The vocal ones probably are. I'll get to that, but first I want to say Terry Pratchett, which is like a very respected kind of sort of fantasy author.
Yeah.
He had this rivalry with Tolkien, but even he had to admit that most modern fantasy just rearranges the furniture in Tolkien's attic. That's what he said.
I hate Tolkien so much.
Touching on the fact that if you're writing high fantasy, people who are already turned on to high fantasy know the vocabulary so well already. Know the vocabulary and the syntax and of the a work that is set in high fantasy. So, and the audience for that, it's kind of sort of they're hungry for more, almost like that. Like that's why sometimes fantasy book nerds, I say that lovingly, obviously, like they would have a bookshelf filled with like non-Tolkien high fantasy, and they look similar from one and each other. It's just a fix that they want.
Yeah,
from that kind of sort of setup. Yeah. So your job is, I know, and kaya when I shared this quote in my timeline, my Facebook timeline, my Twitter timeline, I got not backlash, but like a kind of sort of combative
pushback.
Yeah. Pushback. Yeah. I got pushback for it, and people like naively saying, no, there's still creativity to be had in high fantasy or whatever.
No.
But
there is. It's just differently presented slightly.
Yeah.
And what I said was, well, your job in this context is to be the best interior designer, then, isn't it?
Yeah. You're not being creative. You're being...
Yeah.
No, that's wrong. You're being creative, but you're not being creative the way you think you're being creative. You're just repainting the interior the right color. You're not remaking the foundations of fantasy.
Yeah.
So for those people who really think that, oh my god, it's a huge ask, to get popular, it really isn't. You just be just relatable enough, be just like just unique just enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like here okay, so here's one approach to being the best interior designer in Tolkien's attic.
Go on.
Write a human story. Like I know the premise of writing high fantasy is escapism or whatever, but the audience still needs an in,
Yeah.
And the way an audience sees an in is the cliche, the relatable character. But relatable doesn't mean bug stupid needs everything to be explained to him, There are other ways to make a protagonist. There are other ways to make an audience relate to a protagonist. Usually, audiences are attracted to ambition. Like that's why
Strong characters.
strong characters, and not literally strong characters, but characters with a defined intention, and the obstacle that they are supposed to overcome is presented in a clear manner.
Mm-hmm.
Like so sorry.
Go for it. That's right.
Yeah, that's actually a more foundational notion that I just said. So one of my favorite writers is Aaron Sorkin.
Ooh, I've heard of him.
Yeah, he writes TV.
Yeah.
Like he writes The West Wing, Sports Night, movies. He writes that Facebook movie, The Social Network.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know
yes,
Aaron
that-
Sorkin.
And
Yeah,
his specialty is making boring stuff riveting.
Yes.
Like literally, The West Wing is about the presidency of the United States.
That's the one with
And
Martin
before
Freeman, isn't it?
Martin Sheen.
Sheen,
Martin
that's the one.
Freeman.
Sheen. I said
Yeah,
the wrong
yeah.
Martin. My bad.
I mean, you hear the theme itself, and you're like, "Oh, okay, it's presidency of the United States." I mean, it's not. I mean, it's about the House of Cards, isn't it? Oh, it's about people trying to get into power in politics. Okay.
Yeah.
But the difference, this one is the president doing his
he writes-
job. This entire story
Yeah.
is the president doing his job. And what's great about it is everything is so interesting, down to the point when Martin Sheen puts on his jacket. It's the most interesting thing in the world to watch.
Yeah. Like seriously, one plot point. I'll speak to that episode that Ned said. Like, just putting on his jacket becomes really significant because it symbolizes him getting over something. Ned, right?
Oh.
It's amazing.
So, like, and so back to the foundational thing that he mentions, and he's like my idol in a way because, in a way, because my thinking is if he can make boring stuff interesting, if I apply his methods to actually interesting stuff,
I can make
that'll
them
make interesting
quality.
stuff. You're making quality stuff. So what his quote is like, all that's important in a scene is you present the intention and obstacle for each character involved in the scene clearly, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like
That's. I mean. Yeah. Go on.
sorry, go.
No. I mean, I'll let you finish it because I was going to build on that point.
Sure. So like, this works in every genre because it's foundational storytelling. Because when you're telling a story about what happened to you in the day, or you're telling a high fantasy story about someone slaying a dragon or whatever, the things that are common in every interesting story is that you identify who is doing what in every scene, what is their intention, and what's the obstacle, and what's the resolution for that. So like, watch any movie. Watch any movie and identify which ones are interesting and identify which ones are boring. And this is like something you can do yourself. Audiences, I'm assuming we're live right now, right?
We are live.
Yes.
This isn't
We
just
all
me
we're
and
all
you.
live. We're letting you carry on. Just to quickly build on that. You can learn a lot from movies and like script writing. So I mean, any would-be creators, if you haven't already, go pick up some screenwriting resources as well. Definitely.
So my the end of my point was like, identify which ones are interesting, identify which ones are boring, and I can guarantee you in the boring bits, you don't identify one character's intention and one character's obstacle. He's just there. And usually that's not like not everyone. It's very hard to write a perfect screenplay like that, especially in movies, like where every scene, every character has a purpose, in the sense that we know what the intention and we know what the obstacles are, and that's why Aaron Sorkin is such a great writer, because sometimes he writes scenes with 5 people in the room, 6 people in the room, and it's interesting because we identify each person's intention and obstacle.
They all have a purpose.
They all have a purpose, in a sense that the audience knows what each wants and what's in the way.
Yeah.
And usually in a sort of talkie drama like Sorkin writes, it's each other. Like for example, this is just a hypothetical example, not a particular specific example from the Sorkin Uwe. Let's say there's like 4 people here, 4 people in a car. One wants to drive straight to Vegas, one wants to eat, one wants to pee, one wants to. You know what I mean? Like this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yes. Go on.
Straight. Oh, okay. Hold on. Oh, okay. What was the example? Driver wants to go to Vegas. One wants to eat.
Wants to sleep. Wants to.
Back. One wants the love of the driver.
Oh, okay.
All right. So the driver just wants to straight shot to Vegas. The guy who pees wants to stop, right? Because he wants to pee. The guy who wants to turn back, hearing this, knows that the momentum will be there if they stop to convince everyone to go back.
Indeed.
The guy who wants the love of the driver is watching out what the driver says and tries to back him up. The driver, however, is actually having second thoughts about going to Vegas.
Oh.
So just from this setup, you can already hear what the conversation is like.
So the conversation kind of writes itself, and the dynamics. I mean, the dynamics just present. There's potential for some really interesting, interactions and Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. And I know those are basic motivations, but when you character build in a certain way, maybe we can say that he wants to go to Vegas because he just broke up with his girlfriend of a long time, and he just wants to gamble some money away.
Mm-hmm.
The guy, the girl who wants the love of the driver in the backseat on the left, backseat on the left, Americans, backseat on the right. So you can see the driver. I mean, she just wants the driver to be happy. So every time the driver flip flops, she flip flops also.
Oh dear.
But she, in her heart of hearts, knows that I just made this up. By the way,
yeah.
I didn't prepare this example.
This is very good example, though.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it just showcases how, just knowing what each character's purpose. If I say purpose, it usually is in terms of the intention. That's what I mean. Is
Indeed.
In there.
Based on the intention and obstacle, not only I can write the conversation, I can write the blocking, I can write the kind of sort of what needs to be said, and
to trigger certain things.
Yeah, to trigger certain things. And obviously, when you're writing in a teleplay kind of mind, a screenplay kind of mind.
Mindset.
You don't have access to internal thoughts. You don't have access to captions necessarily, voiceovers, whatever. So everything has to be kind of sort of said in kind of sort of situation and dialogue, right?
Yes.
Kind of saying that Madoka's characters are vehicles for the plot. It's a recurring occurrence through the author's works. I mean, I would say that your example you gave, right, in terms of the characters and their intentions and obstacles, is sort of almost similar, I suppose. You say they help drive the plot itself.
Yeah, the characters themselves don't really need to have anything to them, as long as what the conflict or the story that they are involved in is interesting, and you can drive it using these people. That's I think that's as we said earlier, that's the reason why Aaron Sorkin's such why he makes boring things so interesting, because he takes a situation and goes, all right, I want to make the conflict or the driving force of the situation interesting. The people are just plot points, more or less. And yes, they will develop and they will seem interesting because you're like, he's doing an interesting thing, therefore he's interesting. But it doesn't. You don't have to work so hard on the character. You have to work more on your motivations and on where they're going. I guess is what you're saying for story.
Yeah, and then I can already hear the not the backlash. What was the word that he said? The pushback. I can already hear the pushback because and I just want to get in front of it. The pushback being the characters are not just plot points, and but fortunately, Sorkin also has a quote on that. Characters are not people.
Oh, they are characters. I mean, they are based off people, which is what makes you relatable. So what makes them relatable, but they are still people seen through your eyes of eyes of the author and all that to do a certain to drive a certain story that you're reading.
That's why a comic about a cat loaf is interesting. I'm gonna say legitimately, it's a really good comic. That's characters aren't people. That's a really quote. Carrie, write that down. Quote it. But
As in,
you could tell the same story, like with the same like traits and all that, and they don't have to be humans to do that, do they?
I'll elaborate on the foundation of the quote of that. Characters are not people.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
reason why it's very important for modern kind of sort of uh, millennials, Generation Z writers who started writing making original characters.
Mhm.
So most of us, especially illustrators, people with illustration background, they start getting the writing bug making OCs,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And OCs are usually contextless, or within the context of a different of a fictional world that already exists. It's fan fiction culture.
So within the world, within the build a world building setup, or no context whatsoever.
Usually within a kind of sort of nebulous world building concept, or generally out and out. Oh, I'm making a Harry Potter character, or I'm making a Lord of the Rings character, or making a Sonic character. That's the one that's memed a lot.
Oh, Sonic!
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
carry on.
But
Sonic.
what I mean is, you make OC, you make OCs with the mentality that your OC is the center of the universe.
Mm.
Like any fan fiction that involves the OC places the OC as a person of importance in the world, but that's not really great for original fiction writing because that's not interesting.
Mhm.
So usually you have these character sheets. I'm not bagging on these. You got to start somehow, by the way. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Don't worry, we know.
I have terrible OCs from when I was like in like middle school, and what I'm trying to say is how to pivot from making OCs in a fictional context to making genuinely interesting characters in an original context.
Mhm.
Where was I going with this OC thing?
So,
Oh, yeah.
like generally interesting characters. Yeah, carry on.
You got lost
Yeah,
at
so-
Sonic.
I got lost. Yeah, exactly right.
Fuck.
Good grief! Come on, carry on.
Yeah. So you have the illustration of a cool guy, generally contextless, but in a cool pose, TM. And then the name, the biodata, the blood type, the height, the weight. These are not.
Oh God.
And then the overlong, tragic backstory. But here's the thing,
His
though.
parents were killed in a car crash.
Yeah. Because, in a sense that, because every part of this person is interesting, it's really hard to write a story about him. Because the most interesting thing about him is his backstory.
Oh God.
In a sense that it's happened already,
Mhm.
fully formed. So, when you're writing now, the difference between writing an OC, because you're writing like this because you want your OC to be interesting to other people, right?
Yeah.
Like just from reading the biodata and the backstory, you want kind of sort of good feedback from it, and the thing has to be interesting. But when you're transitioning, which is fine if you're just making an OC for a hobby or whatever, but the context of
And
this,
for people to draw and stuff.
yeah, you just want to draw, you want inspiration for that. It's fine. But when you're the context of this is making a webtoon, right?
Mhm.
So what you want to make is actually writers that are half developed, not like complete born yesterday tabula rasa shonen protagonists necessarily.
Yeah.
What you want is half developed characters, as in like there is some backstory, doesn't need to be a lot.
Mhm.
This backstory informs their motivation,
Mhm.
and the development is informed in what obstacles are in that way, and
During the course of the story, right?
during the course of the story, yeah, and how they get over or not get over if it's a tragedy. Like does not getting over the one way to do. Okay, if it's like I don't want to say typical. I mean, if it's like if you want to make a straightforward action thing like John Wick, maybe.
Mhm. John Wick.
As in like the character succeeds all the time and until the end, right?
Almost like classic shonen as well in some ways.
Yeah,
Like
it
most
is like classic
I
shonen in a
love
way.
John Wick. Let's not talk about. I'll get
Okay.
lost. Let's
yeah,
go
so
forward.
you want to make a straightforward like John Wick style kind of thing, like
If you want to
with
make a straightforward John Wick style type thing, like John Wick has the thinnest of backstories, right?
They killed my dog. So, I
but he killed my dog informs what his intention is, killing everyone else.
yeah.
And how he gets over the obstacles, quote unquote, develops him as a character. And by develop, I mean we discover abilities John Wick has. Generally, they seem to be cool stuff to how to kill people, but it is a form of character development because we didn't know John Wick could do that. We didn't know John Wick could do that. We now know. And sometimes, the audience throughout the film is educated on the abilities of John Wick, they form a kind of sort of working model of what John Wick can and can't do, and you can play with that for the third act.
Yes.
Like I saw John Wick do this, but he might need to approach it in a different way or whatever. I'm trying to be like spoiler free on this because
it's John Wick. What are you spoiling? What are you?
It's all right. We're using it for educational purposes.
Yeah, we're using it for educational purposes. Okay.
Yes, it's so lit.
That's but even in sometimes like people dismiss stuff like that from a writing perspective, like because if there's almost not a lot to it writing wise. The carry the kind of sort of filmmaking carries that kind of sort of film, John Wick, but it's still what my point being is, even if it's just bog simple writing, it still observes the foundational premises of storytelling.
And that's why it works.
And that's why it works. And sometimes other action movies don't, because we don't know what the motivation is, or we don't know what the intention is. What is happening? Why Superman?
Why Superman? Why?
Ash, on that note, Ash, right? I want to ask just a quick question. Like, do you think it's worth to have a vague idea at the very least of how you want your character to develop? I mean, you're not necessarily that what they need to do to develop, but like the end point of like development that you visualizing an end point of development for your characters. Like, okay, so my character is going to start like being this bratty whatever. I want them to become mature at the end of like whatever arc. Mature in something at the end of whatever arc. Does it help to have that sort of thing in mind, even if you don't know what the steps will take are?
I want to say because it helps, but it's a distraction almost, I think.
I think maybe it depends on like the story, right?
Yeah, it depends on the story. I'm trying to formulate what I want to say because, I mean, like, you can say stuff like Donald Trump and then it has like unintended consequences. I'm not like that.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh my God.
I'll say this. I'll say this. From my perspective, that is not important to me.
Okay.
Because the way I approach character development is on a lesson by lesson basis.
Oh, okay.
Lessons being intention and obstacle again, right? Let's just take I want to take an example actually. Luke from Star Wars. Sure.
Oh yeah. Good classic one. Good.
Yeah. So,
Reluctant Jedi.
Luke's character development is from bratty kid to war hero. Bratty kid, still bratty, but has a medal now.
Yeah,
war hero.
That's it.
To bratty Jedi.
To grumpy old man.
To a grumpy old man.
Even in the most recent film, I believe he still has that brattiness in him.
Yeah, he's a bratty, grumpy old man.
So, what I'm saying here, Luke didn't grow actually.
Yeah.
From episode.
There's still that bit of his.
Yeah. The Last Jedi. Yes, there's still that bit of his Tatooine brattiness when he. Sorry, spoiler alert, guys. He threw away the Rey's lightsaber or whatever. People would argue that that's bad writing, and I would argue that that's bad writing. But at the very least, Luke, as he came in The Last Jedi, still observed how Luke was in Tatooine.
Yeah.
In the beginning, so that's why I say that kind of sort of overt character development is less important because it seems like he's a new person, isn't he? If he
Yeah.
just becomes like mature and stuff.
It would seem to, even if it made sense, it would also, even if it made sense like writing wise, it would also somehow manage to make no sense in reality.
I think
Something
I
like
think
that.
so. I think probably my example was a little bit too like 180. Maybe
Which is
maybe
sorry, Kaz. Which is fine because that's how people are taught character development is a thing. Like when you search for Google and ask like how to develop your characters or whatever,
They like change.
usually heavy-handed examples like what you just said is what comes out.
so in practice it's less like 180. It's more like maybe 150-ish or give or take, or
Like
maybe even
30.
90.
Yeah. I'm not gonna put like an angle on it.
I'm gonna say like 30.
I'm just being
I'm
being
gonna say like 76%.
Oh my God.
Degrees, angles, man.
No, because I say 180 just because of the angle thing. But you can say percentage. It's fine. I think the idea is pretty clear that
There's no standard unit.
The idea being,
no
Luke's-
one goes through
the idea being you have to take character development on a lesson by lesson basis. So
Yes.
you start with a character at the beginning. Okay, let's do another example I'm making up on the spot.
Yeah, but we'll need to try and wrap this up soon because we are going like quite a lot on time and we still have a little bit more ground to
we
cover.
are way over time.
Okay, quick example.
But there's so much good content though. So I hope people are still enjoying this.
I should say Knight. Knight wants to save Princess from dragon. That's a classic setup, right?
No.
So, Knight starts out naive, yeah, naive and in love with the princess, who he hasn't met.
She's in another castle.
Yeah, something like that. I'll end with that. You know what? That's my challenge. I'll end with she's in another castle.
Okay.
So like, Knight goes to the bridge, and when he doesn't check the bridge. He doesn't check this rickety ass rope bridge, and his companion already said, we need to turn around. Not turn around. We need to go around the bay or whatever.
Yeah.
Like find a different route.
A different route. But he is so gung ho, he just steps on the bridge. Even inevitably, the bridge breaks in the most dramatic way. I can't write those scenes. Maybe other people have more luck writing those scenes, but that's what happens plot-wise. And the lesson here is listen to your companions.
Hey.
How to climb out of a bridge, or whatever. So
think on your feet later.
On your feet, yeah. So those are the lessons from that particular encounter, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's what character development actually is, you know. And maybe in another encounter. Oh, let's just jump to the end or whatever. Jump to the end.
So he goes through all these different encounters and learns the bits and bobs, like similar to what we've discussed.
Yeah. And in the final encounter, the climactic encounter is you're supposed to the princess in another castle is the cliffhanger bit. The cliffhanger bit, sequel bit. Sorry, in the final encounter, he uses the lessons that he learned throughout the story to defeat the dragon in a way. And that's character development. The person is still naive. The person is still the person in the beginning, but using the lessons that he's learned, he's managed to overcome the ultimate obstacle at the end. That's character development, not necessarily changing from mature to gruffy old man.
Yeah.
Character development.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's more of learning lessons and applying them as they go. Character development.
So it's just change your paradigm on what character development is or has to be, really, right?
Yeah.
Even the princess is in another castle kind of thing. As cliffhanger could in itself be a lesson because hey, you should really be checking your information like along the way.
Something like that, and
Mario.
Turns out, we can make it. Turns out that it was just the knight is so powerful. The only way a vizier from the castle can take over is to go to get this knight on a wild goose chase. Turns out the princess is in his castle all along. How's that sound?
Hey.
Hey, I just wrote a
That's
high fantasy thing.
yeah, just throw it all the
man,
arts and
I should have used this for my Tapas incubator.
Okay. Oh my God! Why did you waste it here?
Oh gosh, I really,
but
I really wanted to cover another point that was about like don't throw in like too many like
I
things
also
that
did.
require the audience
But we need to look
require
at our pitch. We do need to look at our pitch.
We need to look at pitches. We need to talk also briefly about like what makes a good pitch and all that.
Yeah.
Because Tapas have a guideline.
Yeah.
We have to cover like some of these other things in a future podcast. I mean, and also guys, if you all have any other questions that arise between now and maybe whenever we next do it. I mean, I'm sure we can do it like maybe later in the month. Like we have until September anyway, so we might do a few in the meantime, depending on what our schedule is. We still have the regular author shows too. So if anyone has any questions or like, suggestions like talking points to bring up that we haven't already covered in this one, or we should cover a bit more in depth, because I mean, thanks a lot, Ash. You actually brought like really like great examples for like our listeners to think of.
Sorry. Here's the thing. If you're proficient in the foundations of storytelling, like I tried to be, I'm not trying to say I'm a master of it already. You can make stuff up like that. Like that. Like on the fly. Because sometimes people are so scared that their idea will be stolen or whatever. When they give the Tapas incubator, and one kind of sort of sticking point in that whole contest actually is that Tapas is gonna get 50% of whatever that's accepted. And my mentality is because I know the foundations of storytelling, what they want isn't your idea really. What they want is to work with you.
Yeah. Like I was saying it earlier, they're gonna get you. It's not just your story they'll have you work on. They want you to be there. So even if your story isn't doing good because it's not the right audience, they will get you to look at writing that's on their site, writing that have been submitted to them, or books or other stories or script that they have. Like they just want to work with a good storyteller.
Yeah, this is a job. You should the Tapas incubator thing. You should treat or any kind of sort of contest that promises kind of sort of continuity for your story or whatever. They're looking for people to work for them. They're not just looking for your story. They're looking for people who are competent and is easy to work with.
Yeah, pretty much.
Competent and easy to work with as a writer. I'm treating it like a job application.
It is a job. It's a TV movie pitch, more or less.
It's a TV movie pitch for one, and for two, think about it like this. If your one idea is your only idea, you should probably not be a professional writer.
You still have a long way to go, young grasshopper, pretty much.
Yeah.
Speaking about, sorry.
Because I'm at that point where even if Tapas gets 100% of whatever IP I get, I can make one tomorrow. I can make one more idea like tomorrow for another platform. You can have it. I won't write it. Good luck with those junk of ideas. Only
which makes like people who this story is really personal to me, that kind of puts you at a very huge disadvantage. So if you're creating a webtoon for this thing because it's a very, very personal story and all that, it might do good. It's just you end up running the risk of like not being able to objectively look at your work, isn't it?
Yeah. Two things about that. One,
go really quickly about that so we can quickly.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's
Fish
like
boy.
we want to like talk and like help as many people as we can, but it's just
okay. Your first story, make it your most personal story, but hide it away. when you've learned the things you need to learn about storytelling from writing that personal story, write another story that's less personal. Because the thing is, like, your first story is going to be your worst story.
Oh yes.
Your second story is going to be your second worst story. And hopefully by the time you get to your 15th story,
you've got
It'll
to.
be somewhat decent.
Yeah, it'll be 50. It'll be your 15th worst, but it will be a decent story.
Something like that. Moving on. Sorry.
But
Okay.
moving
So
on.
those were the things that you were saying about the
Yeah.
why you should like about the personal story thing, right? Was there anything else you wanted to cover before we looked at the Tapas like pitch submission like format
Yeah,
and then
and the
like
one person who submitted, because Zypher is still
I'm
here.
gonna be right back. Go to the bathroom. Please continue.
Go have fun, buddy.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, okay. So in the meantime, let's cover like quickly. So Tapas require you to submit a pitch, which is pretty much like very similar to like what those like professional pitches in the industry are like. So they want your profile on Tapas. Okay, that's a bit more. It's a brief bio on yourself. Okay? And if you're not currently publishing with them, so some links to website, social media pages. That's again tying into how they want to look at you as a person, like how you communicate.
They just want someone they can work with.
A short summary of a story. Yes, if you had 1 minute, your elevator pitch is what the industry would like to call it.
Yeah.
Story themes and overviews. So like so it clearly shows you need to make sure you've had a handle and like your thought of it. Yeah. Full synopsis of your story. Well, when they say full synopsis, I wonder if they're talking about like full synopsis of where you want the whole thing to go, or like maybe the first season or whatever.
It seems
concept art.
Using the using the BSD, which I'm gonna put BSD's thing up right now as soon as I do. So using the BSD idea that they've been putting forward, they seem to want like a proper. So if you're gonna see like a PDF on the screen covering my face and almost everything, that's the PDF of the test version for Born Sexy Tomorrow. But the basic premise is, I think they want a proper synopsis, like explaining who your where your character is, what your story is going to be about, the general like character development points in the story. They genuinely ask for stuff like part of what the example pitch which I'm assuming they think is the pitch that's best. It talks about how
Born Sexy Tomorrow.
Yeah, Born Sexy Tomorrow. It talks about how Blaze is struggling with his how Blaze struggles with his feelings, and the robot in Born Sexy Tomorrow struggles with his programming. One of the other things they also want is they want like a lot of information. So let me just take down that PDF. One of the things they want a lot of drawings. They want a lot, and not just like simple drawings. They don't just want like I have a character design. They want you to show how you draw characters in like every setting. They want you to be like, what will your character do in this comic, and what are the kind of how are you gonna push him to what things he's gonna do that make him relatable, what things that he's gonna do that make him interesting,
I would say looking at the Born Sexy Tomorrow pitch package that they give us, everyone
move closer.
Oh yeah, sorry, the mic's on the table again. hello. Yeah. The thing about the Born Sexy Tomorrow pitch package that they gave to download for everyone that's interested in doing the Tapas, it's on the contest.
Yeah,
site,
it's on the
right?
screen right now as well. Everyone could see the art submission. Everyone can see the art now.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
They want what the range of expression on this character design to be, because sometimes character designing for a comic is different than making a pinup.
Yeah.
This is for illustrators, yeah?
Yeah.
So when you're character designing for a comic, you want the character design to be, interesting, for one, but for two, highly mutable towards multiple expressions.
Yeah.
That's why modern children's cartoons, the character design is very simplistic.
Bean face.
Yeah. Like that sort of derp face Thundercats roar thing. That's
happening. Because it's super easy to make.
Let's not go too much into it.
Oh my God.
But they just mix expressions. Yeah.
But when you make a character design that's that simple, it means you can go off model and be as expressive as possible, especially in animation where that's important. So, just for the listeners out there, look at character designs and identify what their target media is. If it's a character design for a film, it might look the most realistic thing ever. If it's a character design for an animation, it might not look like the most realistic thing ever. And the thing is, like, the kind sort of target media determines how pliable the design is supposed to be, and usually simplicity translates to more pliability.
also simplicity, it means you can draw it over and over again in many different panels without wanting to
Something
do
like
cringe
that.
and like
Yeah.
you had to cringe and all that. I mean, I have
So-
seen illustrators, who illustrators turn comicers who go, I really, really regret this design. It's so detailed. Even if I wanted to talk about simplifying it down, it's just so much to cover and
Because has illustrators, or at least illustrators on Tumblr or social media, they like to rag on same face, right?
Syndrome, yeah.
They like to rag on same face syndrome. Oh, Idol Masters character design so uncreative. They all have the same face or whatever. Or like they like to rag on the Thundercats roar thing. Like, yeah, this is so simple. This is not my Thundercats, whatever the hell that means. But here's the thing, though. No, here's the thing, though. On a production, having simple character designs. Here's the thing. You want to work with something that's easy to work on, which speaks to your point being like, if the character design is too complicated, drawing it for 40 panels at a time isn't gonna be fun.
No, and it's also
absolutely.
Yeah, it also makes it incredibly hard to work with overall, because like as you said, they want to be able to put any expression onto these character designs, and if they're super complex, and they're like everything, they have all the lines. You can see when he smiles and all the smile lines show on his eyes. Like it's just pointless.
It's not effective communication, especially because if you're gonna be creating things every week, you're basically like doing yourself a disservice by the end of it.
Also, if I remember, if it's simpler, it's easier for you to project onto the character. If I remember correctly.
That's also true.
Yeah.
Yes. It's sort of I mean, I was just gonna go to like I have like a point to make about like sort of like elevator pitches and short summaries of the story and stuff. If you would help. People usually go into this thinking, oh, so I have 1 minute. I need to give them as much information as possible. Whereas I personally feel you should be able to start, by the way, with being able to tell what the story is about in 1 or 2 lines. In industry, we call this a log line. You should be able to start with that first. Let it sink in, and then you go in and build on the detail.
I can hear the pushback right now.
Yes.
The pushback being like, my story can't be summarized into 1 sentence. And the thing I would say to that is, editors don't have time to listen to your life story.
Yes. We really do. We really do not. I mean, especially in professional settings, editors look through tens of almost up to 100 pitches sometimes in a day. I've heard of someone who's like in like MCM, like someone told me they're getting like lots of emails that they have to go through. Like, what about this? What about that? What about I want to do this? Blah 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 blah. And
if your first if your pitch from the beginning isn't hooking them, you're not good enough.
No,
for them at least.
I'll speak to this because there's so many pitches and so little time, stuff like that. Stuff that does get through editorial do seem generic, but for like if you're a consumer of media at a level where you can identify tropes and stuff like that, right? Yes, media that does come out from these kind of sort of, I mean this in a lovingly way, these content farms like Webtoons, Tapas, these comics platforms that
the fast food of webcomics.
The fast food of webcomics, yeah, for sure.
This is what I always call it. For a reason.
They seem generic because, well, they have to deal. They want to appeal. Their modus operandi is they have to appeal to the most audience possible. So, while you yourself thinking inside your own mind, oh, these are the tropes. This is so cliche or whatever. Most people don't have that knowledge, right? Like most people aren't gonna. And this is a slap to my own face, because this is what I was going through like a year ago or 2 years ago when I was trying to be cute with my story,
And then I think we can take down the Born Sexy Tomorrow pitch.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
my bad. I'm listening to it, but I got lost.
Yeah, that's fine. You went through that with your own your development, your cute story.
Yeah. My cute story being not cute like in a moe way. I mean, like Cloverlands is cute as shit. But
you say so yourself, yes.
Don't fight me, boy.
Yeah, but cute in a sense that I was trying to be too creative with my pitches.
Mm.
Like it's this, but the twist is so gigantic that I that only people with a working knowledge of tropes and stuff like that would actually appreciate it, and that kind of sort of caps your audience. That's actually okay, if I'm allowed to like there's an Indonesian word for it. It's called chal. Chal literally means like you're you're stealing time from other people's stealing time to lament about yourself, and that's one word in Indonesian, chal.
Okay.
The thing about Cloverlands is okay, it's might be a bit too complicated to be a mainstream thing. So like for my Tapas Incubator, I'm very conscious of the fact that it doesn't need to be the most complicated thing ever. Actually, these pitches.
Yes, I mean, because they basically as long as you get your foot in the door, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Because what you're, I know the way Tapas Incubator is characterized is they're looking for the most interesting story, the most riveting story, like the best story. And Webtoons, Line Webtoons has a contest and it literally says best story wins $80,000.
Come on, blah blah blah.
They're looking for the
come
most
on, blah, blah,
marketable
blah.
story. That's what they're looking for.
And that's what Nen put it on the nail of the head. Is interesting to you might not be interesting to their bottom line.
Yeah. Like when if Webtoon makes enough content like this, I think what they're gonna do is what I call the Netflix model. First, you make a lot of mainstream, I make a lot of money content. Orange is the New Black, all that crap. You get your Orange is the New Black out, everyone's watching it. Then you can then you can have the money to go, let's have it like one indie that isn't gonna get really popular, but it makes us look classy and we think it's good. Let's give that a chance. Yeah.
Basically sell out first.
Yeah.
In the like higher level of whatever later. This is what a lot. Yeah.
Literally.
Not only that works for gigantic multimedia platforms, it works for comics writers.
It works for everything.
Like Alan Moore didn't start out making Watchmen. He started contracted to do Swamp Thing.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Like DC Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
So like identify your idols, and instead of focusing on their most famous work, focus on their first work. You would see that most of these people are production assistants, they're secondary animators, you know. Like what did they start? How did they start out? They did not. Miyazaki did not Miyazaki did not start out and immediately shit out Ghibli stuff. Is what I'm gonna say. He started because I mean that in a lovingly way.
We know.
Miyazaki did not come to this planet to work on Ghibli first. No. He made shit. Then he made Ghibli.
And then like, no. Then he made that.
Oh yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but most of our audience is probably people starting out.
They're creators. They're not. We have mostly middle, I guess is what we would call it. People who have made at least
some
one
more
comic.
experienced people, yeah.
Yeah,
at least like worked on like production in some form of or whatever.
Indeed.
Right. It's actually okay to slum it in a creative team led by another person first, because like you become like the assistant to a creator that's working on a work or whatever. Those opportunities, I don't know how rare they are or how common they are, but if you have it, take it. Like if you can be like an assistant to someone who's working on on an official on an official Tapas thing, or someone that's needing like a colorist or a flatter for a Line Webtoons featured webtoon, take it, because
you learn so much about the process that way.
And when you kind of sort of put in also the connections. Yeah, if somehow you can connect with someone who's doing official stuff for webtoons, that's already you're in. Really, it is about connections in this industry. No, it doesn't matter how good you are if you don't know anyone.
Yeah, we want good content. But we need to look at Ziffin's work and then we can go.
We do, yeah. So Zephyrin's not. I mean, this is not their first rodeo. I mean, did you want to put up there somewhere? Like, I mean, I gave you. I mean, there's a Google Doc which has comments on it.
You do have
And,
the one
we
with the
probably-
comments. I'm putting up the images of his character designs because that's I think the thing we
Yeah,
can put
go
up
f-
without.
Yeah, put the images up. I've updated them because I mean there was one that got updated, and then I added the sample
Yeah.
panels and all that.
I think I'm
We
missing
don't
it, but
have a lot of time to go through this in detail, but I will try and hit like some of the more important points. And I think you and I don't know if Ash is looking at the
Ash is
document
looking at
right now.
it. By the way, Ziffin
Yeah,
doesn't mean we
It's on
didn't.
the Twitch, right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's on the
We
it's on
have-
the so if you're on Discord, it's in the chat just above called Staffers. Just look for the one called something Staffers.
Yeah.
Called Staffers.
So
Okay.
So
Yeah.
because we jotted down some notes in there. So
Yeah.
we so we don't have time to go through like every single like question
Yeah.
that was raised and all that. So it was myself, Nen, and right now Ash is looking at it,
Yeah.
and also another one of our producers who's looked at it and raised questions from the perspective of like its usual reader. For that, Sprinkly, thank you so much because I mean because they only had like time to fully look at it like yesterday and maybe just before, and
Oh, this
she
is for the Tapas thing?
yeah, this
he's
is a
doing-
pitch, a
Okay.
sample pitch.
It's so good
Yes.
to have someone doing Tapas.
Yeah.
I'm willing to.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm willing to show my pitch just to contrast with this one later. Actually.
Okay.
yeah,
If you've got-
later. Let's do a pitch review first, and I mean, I think it's sort of like emphasize some of the points that we covered earlier. So I'm just gonna quickly read out. So the self introduction, which is what Tapas wants, is pretty it's pretty standard, it's to the point, is which is I mean it reaches direct, and that's good. Now the summary is where which is where I'm gonna come back to the point. Remember I said you need to be able to summarize the story in 1 or 2 lines, and what I'm not seeing is not quite that. It's still readable. It's still like within like the 1 minute kind of thing, but I would much rather like grab their attention first. Say, okay, so this is orphan survivor of the orphan boy survivor of the clan and all that goes on blah 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 journey. So I mean I'm not summarizing it very well right now because it's quite off the top of my head.
Yeah.
The summary as I'm reading it now is a paragraph, and like I mean, and again, like I said, rather grab the attention quickly, then build up on it a bit.
Yeah.
That's what I would personally recommend. And like, what do you think?
I
What
do.
you think?
I'm all for that. 1 to 3 sentences is very good for the summary because you still have to write the overview of the first arc. There are problems I have later on, but since we're going like slowly, we can just go like that.
Okay.
I'm cool with the summary.
So
just
that's
want to- yeah.
that's my comment with the summary. And also, I mean, okay, maybe because I'm not quite a high fantasy person, but what are Anithos clans? There's suddenly like some word appears in there, like all of a sudden, and yeah. So I mean, I think the summary itself, right? I mean, it doesn't. I mean, I have to read a bit and then like sort of process to go, oh, it's fantasy and possibly high fantasy, which is why the log line is incredibly important.
Yeah.
Like.
Like, because when you're selling your story as a high fantasy story, I think Ash would agree with me on this one. You wanna make it easy to understand, because as we already previously said, they do not like have time to read a ridiculous amount of stuff, So what you want to do is you want to make things. Oh, maybe if it says in the overview, that's fine. But like you need to remember, they're approaching this from a certain point. They're going like, oh, this, then this, then this. So like if they see your summary and they go, what's Anithos? And you can't explain it in a simpler way for their minds, like they may just go, screw this. Like I'm not saying they will, but it's just making it easier to understand is never a bad thing. That's my point.
All right. So Zyphon said that they covered it in the overview. And I'm seeing a very short paragraph. It goes, Lost Guardians is a high fantasy with dark themes that play off the characters' deep angst and hatred. It is a story of a tortured people who rise from despair and discover love and forgiveness, can still find a home even in the hopeless. See, that's a bit better, but still not quite logline yet. Not quite. Because story of tortured people who rise from despair, discover love and forgiveness is very nebulous still. It's not as like bam to the point as like, hey, let's take an example of a film like Four Christmases. Okay, so the simple logline for that would be I don't know if you guys know about this movie. Basically the simple logline is couple with parents who've been divorced and remarried have to spend Christmas with all 4 of them. hashtag hilarity ensues. That is pretty much how direct a logline can get. And every time you're writing a story, you want to make sure that you always it always fits the log line. That's why a log line is very important. Make sure that it keeps you on track. And you can cop out and say, and the more nebulous log line, makes it so that you're not diverting whatever and doesn't restrict you. But at the same time, story still needs to have that focus. Otherwise, you get lost in the process yourself.
Indeed.
That's what I personally think. I mean, Ash, and then have you anything else to add?
Oh, overall, or just for that? We're still in that first section.
For that, like in the sort of like, we're still the summary log line kind of phase of it.
Oh yeah, no, I think you're completely correct. I can't really add too much because you literally hit everything I wanted to say.
Yeah. Ash, do you have anything?
Hold on. I'm typing something.
Oh yeah. Sure. At the same time.
Yeah.
At the same time, like, should we sort of segue into the sort of like a synopsis overview, and then we can hop back to Ash when he's finished typing?
Because like 80% of my things.
Hold on, I'm finished typing.
Oh god.
Yeah, sorry, Ash. Go for it.
I'm gonna type in pod stuff first. Can I type there?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll just look over that point quickly. Okay, so this is a sample like logline that Ash has suggested to you. We will put it in the document as well, just for you to have just for you to like consider. Dragonborn Galleon is out for revenge. Made a sole survivor of his people by what catastrophe? By main villain.
That's meant to be a placeholder because I don't know what their story is.
Yes, he has to do something by interacting with the blah blah blah, and to fulfill his whatever a fantasy adventure at Lost Guardian. So that is quite. So it's very concise. It hits all the different things that are. In fact, it hits a lot of things that are covered in the overview.
Yeah.
But tells you what's happening, and then like I think even that itself in the summary, like, it's enough. You don't even need anywhere that long, and then you sort of develop it. You sort of develop it in the overview.
Indeed.
So in the overview, right? So the overview sort of like carries story themes, and so you've covered that quite concisely. I'd say keep that paragraph, the one that I read, a high fantasy with a dark theme.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the synopsis, where if you guys are reading this with me, and Ash, the story begins as an ancient folklore, blah blah blah. Yeah. So that's what we're looking at. Then did you have any comments about it before I started?
One of the things.
Are we at overview?
Yeah,
we're at overview.
Yeah,
we're at the overview. So like the second paragraph onwards, because the first one is a bit more like themes and all that.
Yeah. But when it came to the synopsis, when I read it, the only thing that got me was the number of characters in it. Which is one of the things I was gonna say. Most of my issues stem from characters. So like it came down to there are lots of characters, and in a story, the beginning of a story, I feel like if you can handle it, maybe it could work out amazing. But I feel like you want to simplify at least the first couple of scenes to like 2 important characters, 3 important characters. I feel like
I think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's because I read it and I was like, all right, so there's Galleon, and then there's Galleon's Tiger Ixel, and then there's Fallon. And then there's
the Guardian Mother.
Yeah,
there's the slaves.
There's the slaves. The surf
trader.
dealers. Holy shit! What's happening? Like it felt. That's literally what it felt like. It was just like there's a this, and I'm like, okay, wait. Let's just have 2 things happen. Let them interact, and then you can form the story from there. That way, you can have a bunch of excess people that can die off and don't mean anything. But
can I ask a question?
Sure, buddy.
Go for it.
So, like,
So, I'm just looking at the chat right now, and it says the Guardian Mother and the X-Child is the same character. See, that is not obvious.
Okay.
Right.
Ash.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Speak.
I forgot what my phone is. Later, maybe.
I'm so sorry, because I saw the chat, and I was just like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
He's back.
Yeah.
He's back.
I get it. Okay. I got the point back. But first I have to ask, how finished is this bitch?
Yeah.
Actually, that is a good
I mean,
like
it went
all the way there, or?
I think this is pretty much mostly it, but probably subject to refinements and all that. Like, I don't know what exactly this. The submissions only just opened like a couple of days ago, so
Yeah,
we're
it's been
still
like
a good
week and
time.
a
We're
half,
still a
yeah.
good time. Still a good time. Like this is.
So,
I mean,
like, I think I'm
Mhm.
I'm reading this and like, uh, it's really hard to identify what the main story is. Again, it's intention and obstacle type deal.
Mm.
Um,
all agrees.
yeah, it's like okay. So try answer this question that I have. Well, I'm gonna pretend I'm your editor. Yeah, reading this.
Okay.
So, what does Galleon have to do actually?
Yeah. I mean, it's not clear what Galleon has to do in terms of like. I mean, in terms of mission wise. I mean, it seems like it's a bit nebulous to saying like, oh, it seems like he has to go and like find the other Guardian mothers. That's what the impression I got.
Yeah, that's
But-
the impression I got. That's why I said the Guardian MacGuffins.
The Guardian MacGuffin. Yeah, I saw that MacGuffin. I was like, oh god.
Oh dear.
No,
Oh dear.
which is again relating back to the thing that we said in the last segment. Simple fixes are fine.
Yeah.
They I mean like it's writing. Here's the thing.
Kaza,
Writing
go
is-
pet your dog.
Writing is secret. Writers don't like this when I say this, but I'm a writer, so I don't care. Writing is easy. Executing on that writing is super hard.
Yeah.
So, especially in something like a high fantasy, the burden of kind of sort of knowledge is already in. Oh, it's gonna be high fantasy. There's gonna be a lot of world building. The plot should be dead simple.
Yeah.
Okay, so what he put
At the
down
very
was,
least-
okay, sorry, what he put
at the
down was
very
the
least-
Guardian Mother is tasked at finding the other Guardian Mother so they can unite to save the enslaved people.
It seems relatively straightforward. I think it's just the way that the pitch has been phrased
Yeah.
and like written.
Yeah.
It's just like sort of not doing it the best possible service basically. I mean I can tell it's rough around the edges. That's my gut feeling is that it's rough around the edges.
Yeah.
And like,
Mhm.
sorry, in this like overview arc, there's still a bunch of unnecessary detail, like
Mhm.
for an overview, yeah, not for the plot, not for the script or whatever.
Mm.
Mhm.
Like the story begins as an ancient folklore about the creation of the world, and the flames who live in it is told through a young bright Galleon. You don't need this. Like,
Mhm.
you can just start with what happens to Galleon,
Yeah, so
and
there's
then
this boy.
Yeah.
yeah, instead of like implying that there's gonna be 2 chapters of prologue, isn't it?
Like saying
Yes,
like
that
genuine.
comes back to the prologue thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Genuinely
I mean,
going, there's this boy, his name's Galleon, and he does some shit, yo. It's fine.
Is fine. Exactly.
No, he gets into some shit.
He gets
That
into
is
some
what
shit,
happens.
yo.
Because like the purpose of this pitch isn't as a working internal document to base production on. It's to convince someone to care about it, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's actually like sometimes people glaze over when I like menjabarkan, what's that? Elaborate
We
on the
Elaborate.
types of internal documents that happen in pre-production. Like a pitch is not a Bible, right? A pitch is supposed to be this document where you can show a random person and they would get what it means.
Mm.
The consequence being, it's not going to be the most detailed thing in the world.
Even the Born Sexy Tomorrow pitch isn't super detailed.
It really isn't.
It really isn't. I mean, Zyvan said that they wanted it really laid out. Say, yes, it looks laid out, but so look closely, and it really I mean the paragraphs are all like short, choppy, and all that. So it gives you time to digest each little bit of what's going to happen before you move on.
Yeah.
Can I share something from my Tapas pitch?
Sure, if you've got it on you real quick.
I mean, Yeah, if you got it on you real quick, then you can go.
Yeah.
You can go for it. We don't have a lot. We don't have a lot of time.
Later, maybe another episode.
Okay. Okay. Maybe another episode. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. Like we should have started earlier, and then we should have
I mean, it's all good.
I should have woke up earlier. Is the thing.
This boy.
Okay. In terms of the character designs, guys. In terms of the character designs, how do we feel about that?
Okay, this is the one I really wanted to get on. So I'm gonna point out two things to you, and because I want you to understand my bias before I say something. So I'm not a big fan of this art style, not because it's bad, but purely because I'm an asshole. Don't misunderstand. I'm just gonna be honest, like, cause it's my fault. It's my fault for not understanding what's good about it. It's just me. It's just I like really really like childish shit. Yeah, really moe shit. Like, I love things that look like adventure type. So like when I see stuff like this, I always go, oh god. But ignore that part of my brain. Listen to this part of my brain. This part of my brain is telling you you've got a lot of characters, but you notice in BST's version, they also explain how these characters emote and how they can how they emote really. Like how the characters, and also like even when it comes to your animals, and I know animals tend to be like in the story I think you're trying to write, I think the animals tend to be more around the guardian mother, tend to be more around like, oh, I'm just here to lay some serious magic onto this ground and then like I'm gonna go, you know. But you need to give more detail to them, a little more like a roundabout, because they all seem to follow a general scheme. If you just took one of them, took it out, drew like all the different interactions it would have with people, maybe when it's angry, when it's all good, give the character life, give the character some life to it that they can see in a pitch drawing. You don't have to draw all your characters, just give them like 4.
That's the thing. You don't have to draw all your characters.
Yeah.
No, you really don't. Like,
yeah.
Pick like the main few. Draw like the expression sheets and all that, because that stuff's really important. It helps the person who's reading it. Helps the person who's reading it visualize like the kind of like stuff like this character's going to go through. I mean, in terms of expression, like picture it.
As Karen said.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
This boy. Who's the project lead on this pitch? Is it?
I think it's just one person.
It's a single person job.
It's not your pitch, right, Kaz?
No.
No, it's not. It's not. I think it's up on there. I'm an editor. I don't really do high fantasy as well personally.
So this is. I'm sorry. I want to understand the context of this pitch because I wasn't here to start. Sorry.
That's fine. I can try and explain. So Zyphon has created another comic before called Chaotic Nation, which I mean has elements of fantasy as well, but it's also got BL in it. And so Lost Guardians has been something they've been developing for some time, and this is the kind of thing they want to pitch to Tapas.
They're pitching this. They're giving it to us so we can assess it.
Yes. Oh, I thought it was covered in pod staffers.
I said it to him. He didn't read.
I'm very not.
He can't read.
Oh gosh.
This boy.
Gosh.
This is why we don't invite you to parties.
I thought this was your pitch.
No. I have no time to do a pitch like this. I have a full-time job in research.
Ash, this is why we don't invite you to parties anymore.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. All that aside.
Yeah.
All that aside, what's the comment?
All right. So, one, emote your characters more. Take your top 3 most important. Take one of your guardian mothers. Emote. Show me who they are on paper. You don't have to do all of them. You don't even need like this all the character designs. This may actually overwhelm them a little more. Like, keep your character designs, and then just take your Galleon, take your Fallon, take Ixie. They seem to be like the most important people. I forgot the name of the snake guy is coming up. Nadra, the Time Seer, Nadra, and maybe Destiny. Show their emotions and everything, and just draw some headshots. Give me something to look at to make me know who they are, and they're fine. And that's like, I'm talking like the most you have to do. The least you have to do is take 2 characters, and just do that.
Yes, yeah. I mean the main character Galleon, and maybe the guardian mother.
Yeah, give them different poses. Like, I want you to give them a pose that goes, "This is who I am. I am a Bamf. All right, I'm here to fuck shit up and eat chocolate, and I'm all out of chocolate. That kind of shit. Like, you want to make him. You want to make them show up and be like, "This is who I am. This is what I'm all about." All right.
So I want to speak on a more general sense on pitching high fantasy. Pitching high fantasy is very hard.
Yes.
Because
you're we appreciate that you've come forward with it. Yeah.
Yeah, pitching high fantasy is very hard in a sense where to truly represent your work or your proposed work, you do have to present it like this almost. Like these are all the characters, this is what it's gonna look like or whatever. But you have to resist that urge because you're competing against simpler genres.
Yeah.
Like in this Tapas Incubator thing. Like you're competing with I don't want to say bog standard. Simpler. You're competing with simpler pitches in romance. You're competing in simpler pitches.
More relatable, quote unquote.
More relatable, quote unquote. And the mentality of these kind of sort of editors. I'm not speaking to your personal character, whoever made this pitch. It tends to be that people who are highly elaborate in their pitches or whatever, they read that as insufferable.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it really is. I mean,
even like if you're not that type of person.
Yeah.
It's just editors would read a high fantasy pitch that's highly elaborate and explaining the lore of its internal world, which you kind of need in high fantasy, but within the context of one pitch amongst thousands, it does seem like hard. Something that's easy to skip.
It is.
Yeah, like they'll take it like you're not flexible. You're not willing to change because they're like, he's put so much detail. He clearly doesn't listen to us.
So the strategy here is don't put so much detail, actually. Put the most important stuff, like what Nen said, like pick 3 characters and emote them, right?
Yeah.
Make them want more out of you, basically.
Yeah. Make the story the simplest you can make it, even if it means shedding some kind of sort of world building bits and subplots and characters. Just focus on the journey of the main character and how he interacts with his 3 main supporting characters against the one
bad guy
antagonist. Yeah. Just focus on that. Even if, like, when you get accepted and you become like a Tapas official incubator, hey, actually, there's a lot of stuff.
So there's all this shit.
Then you can give them this pitch.
There's a flying cat.
It's almost like going on a date, isn't it?
Yes.
It's you don't like you mean at first. I mean, first you show like little elements like get them interested. Then by the time like they're in too deep. Oh shit, this guy is a real otaku.
Yeah, come in. All right, you are the disappointing.
Sign the contract first.
Yes, get that money. Yeah. Don't play around.
Get that money first. Get them committed to you. Then do the high fantasy.
And I think for the final thing we need to look at for this entire pitch was the comic panel, which
page.
We did get.
Do you
Don't
have
worry about it. I do have it. I'm about to display it. We did get it, Zai.
Yes, this one I have comments on because actually layouts my thing, and I think for like context, I've also looked at the author's past work, which was Chaotic Nation, and I'm aware that one was laid out in a more traditional page format, despite the fact being on like a mobile like Webtoons platforms. So I can see that this one's been laid more in the traditional like the vertical scrolling format, which is helpful because that's pretty much how it works. So and I know this is a sketch and like this is sort of in progress, but the things I've noticed from this one, and also things I've also noticed like in past comics, which I think is going to be huge thing that can possibly take away from how good the comic looks overall, is the typesetting.
Yes, the typesetting is a really big thing.
Yes, it's really important. So you'll notice that you'll notice, right, that that a lot of comics, for some reason, most comics, there are exceptions to rule like Tintin and a bit of others, but there's a reason why comics use like for most dialogue it's all caps, or even if it's a bit more like, if you want to use a bit more of a oldish like kind of a font just to suit the fantasy like aesthetic, there's a reason why like things are all caps, because it's just readability is a lot easier as a whole for this. But so basically more judicious choice of like the fonts that you're using, and I mean it's a bit weird. Like there are some studies on like how readable mixed case is compared to like all caps, and there's some and there's like more detail there, but there's not enough time for me to go into it.
Yeah.
But
Just use
basically,
Lafayette.
sorry,
Just use Lafayette.
Oh my god.
Lafayette, what's that?
Lafayette is a font.
Hold
I
on.
think let me get it up.
Okay.
This boy.
Well, I mean, I'm going there. The second important thing about the typesetting is how you have. I mean, how you you do your bubbles, like everything from the shape to like how much padding you've got in the bubble to like how much text you've crammed into it, whether you should separate or not, and the like. In this panel, so this particularly the third panel with the girl in it, that it's really it's not ideal because there's a lot crammed in that one bubble.
Yeah.
And how it's laid out. The shape's not the most pleasing thing either. I mean, I could easily break the
panels up quite a bit.
Yeah, I easily break the text in it just to space out, because it really looks like maybe that's the feel you want to get. Maybe she's a motor mouth and she dumps a lot of things at once, like, oh, you poor thing, you must be lost, don't worry, blah blah blah. But something like spacing it out, like, so like oh, you poor thing, you must be lost in one panel.
Yeah.
To the next panel, and where her expression changes, you can go, don't worry, Daddy and his friends help Anathos find good homes. Where they find good homes.
Hell, I would
comma,
even,
conjoined bubble, where they are taken care of their whole lives.
Hell, I would
that
even
makes
say,
it
like,
a lot.
Drop that. I would even say drop some of that and go, oh, you poor thing, and have her touch him. That already puts forward the goodwill that's in a sense, and just be like, don't worry, Daddy takes care of people like you. That already puts the warmth, and like it means the sentence doesn't even sound sinister. One of my other problems with the panel, and I'm sorry for cutting off on this one, it's just a small thing I'm gonna point out. You have so much detail per panel, and I'm like, look, there's nothing wrong with detail, but there's so much going on. Like, for example, I'm gonna show you a panel that I looked at. The first thing I said was, can we cut that down, please? So this panel, which should be up now, is the one with the Anathos and the two men standing and saying, we'll take good care of you. I literally went, why didn't you cut that at like halfway through the panel? And why didn't you put Daddy over here? I don't know, like on its own panel. And we don't need like all the, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of stuff going on the screen. And I'm like, most of this detail isn't going to change what's going to happen next. Like, you've already established for people where things are in like 3D space. They don't need more than that. Also, by the way, if you're all wondering what Lafayette was, Lafayette, it's a font. I knew it was a font when he said it, but I was just waiting for Kaza to finish. It's a font that's like the most comic-y font in the world. God damn you. But like, you know, you want to cut stuff together, cut stuff apart so that it's a lot more. The important details were there.
Digestible, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I look at that and I'm like, all right, he's got a cut on his chest, he's got his wings out, he's standing. He's like, no, okay. All that matters is he's got his cut on his chest and he's scared, and there's two men. So you can just draw the two shadows at the corner, cut that like halfway through it. I can see his face already. I'm set. The rest of this panel is a lot of detail, but isn't necessary.
Which panel are you talking about?
If you look at the bottom of it, but if you look at the bottom of the Google, if you look at the bottom of the Google Drive, it's the last thing on it. Yeah.
Right. I want to say about like dialogue stuff. Like, try and like when you write this dialogue, try and say it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you poor thing, you must be lost. The thing, like if the intention was for a motor mouth character, like Has said, the expression isn't that like that.
Yeah, they haven't got the
expression is a bit more like hyper.
More like like, you know, stuff like that, you know, like more like not like a doll, but more like a highly excitable type deal. I would say that if you can cut your dialogue for it to be more readable, because what they expect is in modern webtoons, and if you're trying to be official and not be independent, if you're independent, you can do whatever you want, and if it works, it works. But usually industry standard is you have to, for like a 700 to 940 pixel width kind of sort of webtoon. What you want is like 24 pt is the gold standard because it's like easy
24
to read.
point.
Yeah, 24 point. Sorry, like 24 point, and like I know that's kind of sort of limiting in the sense that you can't really write as much as you want, but you're not writing a Marvel comic, you know, like or a DC comic where like you can just stuff words in
Okay, so
bubbles.
Zyphon said that she's not a reappearing character. That said, right? You mean
It's the
that
point.
said, right? Even if they only appear for like the briefest of moments, you want to make sure that they don't they don't take away from like the enjoyment of like the comic.
Yeah, because you need to understand, like even that one character could be the difference between you having a new reader and someone just going nah, or someone in the office at Tapas going, oh, this is really interesting, and all of a sudden they see her and they go, oh, fuck this. Like,
well,
you don't want that.
No, I think fuck this is a bit too harsh. I think.
No, I'm just being British. I'm just British. My bad. Like, I have to apologize. Sometimes I say stuff just the way we say stuff. I'm not thinking about how everyone else talks.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I mean, in fact, sorry. Do you want to go first?
So this is more of like pitch strategizing, really. This panel does not need to be the final panel.
Yeah.
Actually.
No.
So like, the thing that we said and Nen said was like make this more pitchy, right? Like don't
not pitchy as in like
make it more digestible, so you can make it's perfectly legal. No one's gonna call the cops on you if you make this panel what she says different than what the actual final thing is gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, take Nan's suggestion about like you don't have to put the whole like I mean, you poor thing, you must be lost. Like, convey it with the action. One panel to convey the action of like touching in touching in like concern, and then the next panel you go into her face, going like don't worry, Daddy and his friends, whatever, and then and then maybe a next panel like for Daddy over here. And also, I mean, this is where I'm gonna say, like, layout wise, right? This how the balloon for Daddy over here and Easy Little Guy will take good care of you is laid out isn't optimal, basically.
Yes. It makes it hard to read the text.
I highly suggest. I don't know if you can link it to the Twitter.
Link what? I posted. Do you want to put that?
Oh yeah.
Did you want to put up the panels up again as what?
No. I put a link on Podstaffers to Webtoons because Webtoon is running a Webtoons contest, right?
Yeah.
The 80,000, the ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
And they actually give you like, this is what we're looking for actually in Webtoon formatting.
Yeah, they do. They give a very good breakdown. If you do have time.
Give a very good breakdown, and there's an implied threat where if you don't do this, we won't even look at your thing.
Yeah, I mean, so Zyphon say that they've never really done scroll type comics, which I can appreciate, but there are also a few things in also the more like traditional page type format that I've seen that do need work as well. I mean, granted, like, I mean, I think things like breaking up the text for one.
Yeah.
That I said in the third panel was pretty much the crucial thing.
Also,
go ahead. No, okay. God.
Sorry.
I'll quickly cover this because it's typesetting, and then I can go back to the point. Right. So the second one is like I'm not sure how familiar you are with like how text should be stacked in a balloon. For anyone of you listening and have not heard of it, Blambot for comic creators is a very, very good comic resource, particularly in terms of typesetting. Lots of different fonts, like tips about like the lettering tips and the grammar, like how like things should look and like be stacked. So a lot of the advice applies a lot to mainstream comics, but you can adapt it for Webtoon. And one of the things that you learn about stacking text in a balloon is you need to be very careful with where you break your lines, for one.
Yeah.
Secondly, you need to be careful that you don't end up with like a really like short, like often like last line as well, which doesn't make it look visually as pleasing. So in your example, the third panel, like, where they're taken care of for their whole lives, like, you just suddenly broken off there. It's just one hanging word there. That alone, like, makes it quite jarring. And also the thing, like, is oh, you poor thing, you must be lost. Even if I had, like, made it such a run-on balloon, I would have broken the thing down at "don't worry" as the next line. So line breaks important, and that's why you'll find sometimes people write and rewrite dialogue because, like, they thought it looked. I mean, they want to say these things, but then actually it doesn't really look good in the balloon, so they will rewrite to make it look better in the balloon and still convey the meaning, and also like how you stack your text. I think I will find the link for Blambot while Ash covers his point.
That'd be really useful.
Okay, so forgot what my point was.
Oh,
why you like this?
Me? Why you like this?
Why?
Sorry. Oh, yeah, I know what my point was.
Don't you?
Here's the thing, though.
Okay.
When they look at this example panel, what they're not just looking at the quality of the panels itself. They're actually trying to project. Can you actually do this for 30 panels an episode, 3 episodes a month? Is the thing.
Yes.
Like, so, like, when they see details, they're not just impressed by the art. They're concerned. Can you do this for 30 panels?
Yeah. Every day.
So I think, I mean, it helps that Xiphon's got like other like stuff published on Tapas for them to like draw conclusions on like how their work will be like over the course of
Yeah, for sure. And I hope that.
Sorry, you hope that what?
Sorry, what was I saying before?
I hope that, and then you just cut off.
I hope that. What was the thing I said before?
Like for like the same thing for 30 panels, but at least they have like Tapas stuff to extrapolate out.
Is your body of work translatable to 30 panels? 30 panels, so 90 panels a month.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or at least does it show you're growing from a certain panel value, and you are capable of handling higher panel values over time.
Okay, so if that's the case, then I can shut up because you're perfectly capable of that. That's fine then.
Yeah.
Because
but they only have a small like sample, which is the one you're going to give, apart from your other body of work to extrapolate out of. And your older body of work, you've mentioned it yourself in other places, is like you've grown since then. So
it's very important to like have your growth in a visible manner that they can just easily go, she clearly can handle. She went from 5 to 10 to 15. She's doing 20 now. All right, 20 and 30.
And they're good panel.
Yeah, I'm saying 20 wouldn't be too much to like go, okay, from 20 to 30, I can see that happening with ease. All right, fine, let's chill.
Okay.
Oh, have you tried, not you, the people making this pitch? How many people are bringing?
One. It's one.
It's one person. One person. We said it already.
Told you this 3 times.
No, I'm so impressed because one person is doing everything.
Yes, it is quite a lot of work. So we do appreciate that.
It's a very impressive pitch.
We're ragging on you. We love you.
So
can be made even better, but so far, just because of this one person, it's really impressive.
Like, try loading this image on your phone.
Yes.
Because even if you are reading Tapas comics on like your screen because you're an illustrator and you just have access to screens a lot, their main constituents of readers do not do that. Your main readers are going to be reading on a smartphone, so that's actually the most important screen to test your panels on.
Indeed.
So like this long panel, the fourth one, I guess. Yeah. Does this
translate well to?
Does this translate well to mobile? And specifically, does this panel take over the entire screen, or is it going to be cropped?
Yeah, does it make it easy for the eyes of the individual to follow on to the next panel? That was the reason why I started saying what I said, because like I was looking and I was like, I'm just reducing this in my head right now, and I'm seeing this not spatially working out on a phone.
Yeah, like this would really look great in a traditional page format with a book in your hands.
Yes.
But unfortunately, most things do get lost in translation in infinite scroll format.
Yes.
I mean, there's some debate in like terms of like how forgiving the scroll format is compared to the traditional page format. And I think for a lot of people starting out, like scroll format is very forgiving because you don't have to think about the wider layout on a page as much. But
Indeed.
if you're used to working with page layouts, I can see why it can be a bit of a
Yeah.
jarring like switch over.
Yeah.
And as someone who has transferred a webcomic that was done previously in just like Webtoon format over to a page format, I
Okay.
can appreciate the difficulty of it. Like it's hard. So hats off to you for that. In fact, right, when I actually edit the Exco, I'm known to look at the stuff on the screen on the desktop screen and at the same time look at the stuff on my phone just to make sure that it reads fine on both ways.
Indeed.
I mean, it's overkill for a lot of people, and because most people think, you just proof things and just check what art errors. But like, no, I actually check to make sure that the experience is enjoyable both on the computer screen and on the phone screen.
Yeah, because that's how people are going to be consuming your media, and you have to make it readable in both those formats.
Yeah, and even though like Exco is uploaded in the scroll type webcomic format, it's still fine to scroll through on a computer like screen
Indeed.
itself. So I mean, obviously some like panels will be easier than others to adapt to one part or one screen or another. But generally you want to make sure you hit a nice middle ground.
But yeah, for the most part, like Xiphon, I think everyone's hit both points. But Xiphon, like, it's a good pitch. There's some things to improve on. Talk to it'll be good for you to talk to other creators. Soap is there. Soap will willingly give you probably willingly give you some advice. You can ask us again some more if you do a more detailed pitch. You've got Ash. He's on the Discord server. You can talk to him too. I mean, we've got that creators room where you can just ask other creators, what do you think about this and what's going on. But it's good. I'm saying, like, for now, take our advice and look at what you can do with it. Look at how you can apply it. And since you're the only one doing this work, remember, just keep trying to do your best and you'll be fine.
I was going to say, right, I mean, Carlos, who is the author of Exco, I mean, he used to work like primarily in the long scroll format, and then now he's done like sort of thing where like he's using like the Clip Studio like pages to see like bit by bit, like to plan out his panels, but then later copy them over to the long scroll canvas. And that sort of thing can help you visualize like with the help of the pages that you're used to, but it also makes it like easier for you to sort of hit a nice ground with a scroll type thing. So I would talk to him as well.
Soap even put a really good point there. I said, if you want to do both, do page format and then cut up your boxes into mobile for each episode, which is also very good advice. Like, start from the format that's more complex and simplify, rather than take a simple format and increase the complexity.
I think right. A lot of the standard rules also apply. Like the size of a panel, to convey like how long a period of time is, or like how important such and such like moment in time is, and the like, it still applies. Like, in general, like good design and layout principles do apply. The nice thing about webcomics is that a lot of people, can get away without having to do Marvel or DC type effect text, which can be really, really hard to do. That's why you have a specialist letter for these things, including like the dialogue and the like. So, but the production value, like, is still pretty much there. I think with some refinement, this will be a really good pitch. And even if it's in a more like, discerning like high fantasy genre, I think it could be a really good pitch.
The thing that we keep in mind is
you're 6 miles from the microphone.
Hey.
Damn it, Ash.
At this point, he's our comedic relief. I swear to God.
No, I mean, I've liked having him on. He's very insightful. He brought up some really good points about the character development thing. That I sort of like knew at the back of my mind, but he's made it like understandable in words. So
thanks, Granddad.
Hey. Okay.
Yeah. So what was it you were gonna say? We need to wrap up soon. Unfortunately.
So when you're revising this pitch, the takeaway isn't, we're not trying to change your story. We're not trying to change what it is. we're trying to you have to be extremely cognizant of the fact that you're one in thousands.
Mm.
Yeah.
So like and world building detail is very hard to convey in a pitch that is going to be reviewed as one of 1000. What is easy to get is the human story.
Mm.
So base your pitch not just around the this is how elaborate my world is, but and it can be the most elaborate thing in the world, but to get to where you can present the world in a meaningful way, you have to start with the human story first. So your main character, this galleon person,
Or the human dragon story first.
the human
Dragon
dragon,
story.
like you have a good hook in the revenge bit, and okay, again, talking from a perspective of an editor, not from a consumer of media that's up to here in high fantasy and can't really look at cliches anymore without pointing it out. The perspective is from an editor, yeah. The revenge thing is good. It means like you have an understanding of what makes a commercial work. So sometimes you don't self-criticize. Is this too cliche? Is this too... No, it's fine actually. Just make it as simple as possible. Focus on like the main character and 3 supporting against the 1 villain.
You can develop more later on as long as the audience have had time to adjust.
When you sign the contract,
Yes.
then hey, actually, it's like Lord of the Rings type stuff or whatever. Yeah, that's my point. The pitch needs to be the simplest thing ever, but it doesn't need. You don't need to like change your intent of the pitch necessarily. Just make it more digestible for
Indeed.
as 1 in 1000.
That's fair enough. I think that's really good. All this talk about simplicity is making me wish for a really simple meal. And if you really want a simple meal, you should check out Tokyo Treat.
That's not a meal. That's a snack.
Don't talk to me, woman.
So,
Simple meal.
Dan, tell me about this Tokyo Treat.
Tokyo Treat is a great way for you to get delicious, simple Japanese snacks straight from Japan right to your doorstep. And you know what? Did you know what I found out as well? If you take our code WCHub and you go to their website and you've never ordered before and you order a premium box, you get $3 off your box and they send it to you in your home.
Oh, wow.
Japanese food. You can be a weeaboo anywhere in the world.
So I'm opening the website right now. They actually have like genuine Japanese poke.
Yeah, they also
like
they also have
It's different, guys.
and also even though
for
we
us in Southeast Asia, we usually get it from Thailand, isn't it? So.
Indeed, and also even though we say our code applies to the Tokyo Treat box, it also applies to Yume twins. You like cute Japanese crap? I do. Then you can get some cute Japanese crap on Tokyo Treat and go to the Yume Twins tab. Yes, Yume Twins tab. Because frankly, we're trying to make a thing here. We need some cash. So take our code WCHub and get yourself something nice and sweet from Japan. All right? On me. $3 off.
I would like you can't miss genuine Japanese Kit Kats.
No, he's right.
You can't miss genuine Japanese poke.
They had sweet sake Kit Kat like last month and I went crazy. And then this other month I actually did buy the box and they had Boruto jelly. And if you like Naruto and Boruto, it was some good shit. Genuine Japanese food. Moe shit.
But seriously, these guys are worth checking out at the very least. So yeah, so support them. You get your stomach gets happy. We get happy. Everyone's happy.
And also,
seriously, Japanese snacks are a whole different thing.
They're a whole thing.
Yes.
Like jeez.
Keep you powered through the your creative process.
And also, if you're here and you like us and you like what we do, think about hitting that follow button. And if you also like us, go to our YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Watch our videos, like them. I'm just copying Philip DeFranco now. Help me, dear God. But check out our content, join our Discord, check out our Twitter. Sometimes I tweet things there. Sometimes I like your tweets. Sometimes I like Carrie's tweets. I mostly like Carrie's tweets. Don't judge me.
Dan's approval is very important.
What about mine?
Your
Jeez.
tweets are irrelevant.
What?
Smash that like button. If we hit 1 million likes, I will sell Kaza's dog to KFC. All right? It will
Guys, please.
barked on time.
Oh god, it's KFC, not KFD, you guys.
Delicious.
Oh gosh, no, but seriously, guys, I mean, we've had fun with this cast. I mean, we really went over for like a bunch of different reasons. Half of which was like a timing.
I blame most of it on
There's just so much to cover, and we're not done, obviously. So if you have more things you'd like us to like, go in depth about, or I mean, clarify, or different talking points you thought we should have covered but didn't. Like, I know there were a couple of points that I didn't want to bring up for the genres, but I couldn't because time.
3 hours stream.
Let us know. Talk to us on Twitter.
Yeah,
Discord.
talk to us on Discord. If you have like stuff you want to send in, some work you want to send in, maybe you've got your Discord on you, send it to us on Discord. If you can put it on a Google Drive and you send it to us on our Twitch, like, you know, DM this account on Twitch. It will be checked and it will be looked at. I mean, we'll give you pointers on everything and we'll talk to you about everything, because we're not here to like tell you your stuff is shit. We're just here to help you make your stuff as good as possible. So if you want some help.
Zyphin, we're gonna like neaten up the advice that we've given you, and maybe there are a couple of things we might have not been able to cover that we will put in comments on the Google Doc, and we'll send it to you as soon as we can. We really are trying our best here. Like I've got a full-time job, and Ned's got like schooling and stuff. But we will do our best. And we really appreciate that you've sent in your pitch, and like we're okay with us critiquing it on stream as well. Like that's something that I know a lot of people can't handle, no matter, like, especially like if they're quite like attached to their work. So I mean, hopefully you've made enough notes, and we'll make our notes, and we will contact you with that soon.
Also, Shinryuko,
anyone else?
I saw what you said, Shinryuko, about going over script writing. We have been trying to get our shows to be a lot more one topic-y, and also interviews, so like interview one topic. So we'll see how much time we have. Maybe we'll put it in one of our other shows. Maybe we'll put it in this one. But you know, get out YouTube, get out YouTube, get out Twitch, because that's where we put out all our content when we can work on it. But thank you guys so much for the support. I am going to keep your message down in our Discord. Join our Discord so you can talk directly to us and ask us questions. Just meet some other creators and some other fans. And, you know, hit those other links if you want to throw some shit at us.
If you want to make it like easier for us to keep producing the show, we do have Patreon. We do have places. We do have stream elements where you can tip us. Yeah. So the links again are down there. I
will have to sell Kaza to those people in the alley back street, and you guys don't want me to do that.
Please. You know those people in the alley can't afford me, right?
I mean, do you know?
They really can't afford. They really can't afford.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Just make sure that the Patreon and the tip links are working, so that people.
They're working this time. I did it correctly.
Thank you.
It's just that Tokyo Tree fucked me on the last link. Okay.
All right. Okay. Anything else like minor to add before we sign off? You guys?
All right.
Keep pitching. If you don't succeed today, it's not the end of the world. It's never the end of the world. Keep doing it. You're only as good as your last thing, and hopefully you get better everything you make.
Exactly. Nen?
I don't know. Don't give up. You'll be fine. It's not the end. Like, I know it's all your dreams, but you all be fine. And if you make something during this content like buzz thing, I will advise you not to drop it. Really commit to making it and doing it right. Cause and also PM me the updated pitch. If you've heard all the shit and you've updated your shit, send it to me. I will read it again. She'll read. I don't know if she'll read it again, but I'll read it again.
I will read it. Come on, please. I was the one who had to give it to you, Ned.
Well, I did a lot of stuff.
Yes, I am. We thank you for it, but so did I.
And also, if you have friends or you have other creators, and you think they could benefit from this show, tell them. We've got the YouTube. We actually stream this. We're streaming this currently on YouTube and on here. Although YouTube has almost no views, but this has views. And so we're keeping it as accessible as possible to everyone, so everyone can get a good chance to look at stuff. Thank you guys very much for showing up today. Thank you guys very much.
We really have to thank Ash. Yeah, we have to thank Ash as well for coming on, and
Ash,
I'm sure we'll invite him.
Hi guys.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure we'll invite him on like the next time we do something. I mean, do another like Webtoon like tips help like kind of.
Oh yeah. Actually, like one of my great passions in life is like teaching people to do stuff.
Yeah. He's one of those.
Because a part of it is like I like it when other people get knowledge, but it kind of confirms my own knowledge. Like let's say if I tell something and they have another opinion, and it allows me to reassess my own knowledge base. So I enjoy doing this.
It's all part of learning and growing, you guys. I mean, and that
Exactly.
applies to like everything, and not just in terms of Webtoons or whatnot. I think it's been fun for me too as well, because like I said, I got to do the same, but also I've learned lots as well from like Nen and Ash too. So I really appreciate it. Okay, so I think if we don't have anything else, I think this is where we sign off and say goodbye. And I think our next podcast is the one with it's with Hiseki, and it's about
It's
and it's
Hiseki.
on Echo.
Yeah.
It's Hiseki. So we're coming back in about let's see how many weeks. 1, 2. So it's not 2 weeks, because we've had this is a bit special because we've done like 2 shows back to back in 2 weeks. So we're gonna take a bit of a longer break. 23rd is when we next come back.
Yes,
unless Nen has some like really like interesting things scheduled, and
if
we
I have
schedule a podcast.
if I have to like schedule an interesting thing, you guys will know. I'll put it up.
Yes.
You'll see.
Well, yeah, it's on Twitter. It'll be on Twitter and Discord.
Yeah.
So 23rd, we'll come back and we'll be interviewing Hiseki, who's the creator of Echo. And so if you've got questions for her, like what things you want to discuss and things you want us to discuss with her, make sure you tweet us. You message us on Discord, or even leave the questions on Discord on the Webcomics Hub server, and we will definitely include those from between then and now.
All
But
right.
until then, this is Kaz.
I've been Nen. Ash.
And
Really, boy?
And
Hey,
Ash.
I've been Ash. Yeah.
Get out.
And thank you so much for listening in. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.